the center of it, but I'm just a placeholder, right? I'm simply a placeholder here. I'm not the actual story. The actual story here is where the Democrats go, where the Democrats go from now, where the Democrats grow from here. Should the Democratic Party be a centrist party, a center right party? But yeah, where was I? Okay, so I mean, I guess we'll start there. There's a Politico article that turned into an article that was just Adam Wren. Adam Wren wrote the initial article about me stumping with Abdul El Sayed. Adam Wren then basically took my super long response to him and turned it into an article in and of itself. The article is titled, Why Some Democrats Want to Shut Off Hasan Piker's Megaphone. The Populist rumors rise as Democratic influence coincides with the party's long search for a path out of the wilderness. Hasan Piker speaks to the media at election night watch party for Zohran Mamdani's campaign in Brooklyn, New York. Okay? Hasan Piker's new role as a midterm surrogate and potential influence on the 2028 presidential race is driving a wedge in the Democratic Party. After Politico reported that Piker, the far-left political streamer with millions of followers, will stump in Michigan with Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed next month, his history of divisive comments have launched an avalanche of criticisms from Republicans and Democrats. Two of El Sayed's opponents, State Senator Mallory McMorrow and Representative Haley Stevens, lambasted El Sayed with Stevens telling Jewish Insider, someone who's campaigning with someone like that is not going to win in Michigan, and McMorrow saying Piker says extremely offensive things in order to generate clicks and views and followers, which is not entirely different from somebody like Nick Fuentes, comparing him to the anti-Semite nationalist influencer. Piker's rise as a Democratic influencer and surrogate coincides with the party's long search for a path out of the wilderness, particularly in recapturing young men. Piker is scheduled to appear alongside a live stream Choose Your Fighter rally organized by Progressive Victory at 6:30 p.m. Saturday by Representative Ro Khanna is among the list of attendees. Maine Democratic Senate candidate Graham Plattner was originally billed as a participant, but he pulled out of the event. A person familiar told Plattner's planned appearance was a miscommunication, and on Sunday, Pikerville rally was at a tax-the-rich rally. The question over Piker's prominence also comes as both the Republican and Democratic parties ask fundamental questions about how big their tents should be. But it's out-of-power Democrats who face the higher short-term stakes. In an interview, what is happening? I'm getting blown up right now. Hold on. Okay. But it is the out-of-power Democrats who face the higher short-term stakes. In an interview with Politico, Piker downplayed accusations that have been leveled against them, like the center-left think tank Third Way, whose leaders wrote a Wall Street Journal op-ed that Piker had a history of anti-American, anti-women, anti-Western, anti-Semitic comments. Piker said Third Way was losing their institutional relevance. He also said he's merely channeling, not changing, the attitudes of the Democratic base. I'm a megaphone, right? Piker told Politico. There are lots of Barbs and Debras out here, out there in Minneapolis, for example. I said Barbaras, but they wrote Barbs. I don't know why. For example, that have never encountered me, and yet they share that frustration with the failures of establishment liberalism all the same. Piker said those type of voters view the Democrats as ineffective, inept. It's not because they tune into the HasanAbi broadcast every day, he said, referencing his Twitch channel. They arrive at that conclusion because the Democrats lost to Trump twice, with the same principle that you got to pivot to the mythical moderate center. This isn't Piker's first rodeo. He live-streamed an interview last year with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Sanders before the duos fighting oligarchy rallies. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani also sat for an interview with Piker last year. But Piker's increasing coziness with prominent Democrats also comes as some in the party argue he poses a problem for them. Piker is close to, but not over the Nick Fuentes line, where going on his show itself is indefensible. Third Way co-founder Matt Bennett, who's been sounding the alarm about the Democrats' affiliation with Piker, told Politico. Bennett added that Democrats take on all his baggage if they don't overtly reject him, which he said is dangerous because it empowers the right and gives them an incredibly powerful tool to hit Democrats with. That's very bad. But some Democrats, I mean, this is literally, look, I didn't think I'd be at the epicenter of this conversation, but this conversation is not about me at all. You know what I mean? Like, it might come across as a conversation that's about me, but it's not about me. This conversation is about where the Democratic Party should be heading. Will they be responsive? Will they be responsive to the overwhelming demands, totally just demands, totally moral demands coming from, large majorities of the base of the party? Or will they continue with establishment neoliberalism, right? So because there is no Jeremy Corbyn-style figure, as it stands currently in the American left flank of the Democratic Party, they have positioned me as the fixture point, right? They have decided that I am the placeholder for a Jeremy Corbyn-style figure that they can just like actively undermine with the same exact style of smears. But the difference now is when the anti-Semitism smears against Jeremy Corbyn were very effective in purging the left flank of the Labor and turning it into the Keir Starmer, very right-wing Labor Party that it currently is, that's collapsing the party in and of itself, right? When they did that, it was a very different media environment, okay? When they did that, it was an entirely different media environment. It was an entirely different political environment. The issue of Israel was nowhere near as salient as it is now. And also, the issue of Israel was nowhere near as favorable to our side as it is now, right? So what they are trying to do is basically cut away at me being the vessel, the vehicle for left flank politics in the Democratic Party. I have made it I've made it known. It's not like I hide my perspective. I'm like, I want the leftmost persons to be elected in every single seat, right? I'm very open about it. I'm very honest about it. And I think that's what is so terrifying for a lot of these guys, right? I want socialists. I want a million Zorons all around the country, okay? I want to elect 1,000 Zorons. Let 1,000 Zorons bloom. Okay? And that is terrifying for a lot of these people. And it's not terrifying because these people will lose. It's terrifying because they'll win. Do you understand? That's the problem. They don't want the Democratic Party to have a large share of the power sharing agreement coming from people like Zoran Mamdani, who will be objectively more popular. And then the rest of the Democrats will have to caucus alongside people like that. And then the rest of the Democrats that want to maintain maintain their positions of power will have to reconsider their stances. They will have to lean into the left flank attitudes, the left flank push. And they will have to genuinely fight for those sorts of things. That's my goal. I've never hidden that. And I think we have an opportunity for it because this is the time, right? This is an opportunity unlike ever. An opportunity that we have that we've never had before. My take on the Hun stuff, Dem politicians have long been happy to tout themselves. What is this? Dem politicians have long been happy to tout themselves, talking to controversial far-right fascists to flaunt their left-punching credentials, and they've concurrently tried to starve all left-leaning media of attention. So the whole fake controversy here just spotlights the deeper asymmetry. And to be clear, I'm not equating Hasan with the far right, nor am I weighing in on all of his views, statements, declarations. I'm making a larger, indisputable point. As the country is crushed by very real problems here in the real world, there's a never forget we're the real story, not them vibe and media folk trying to make politicians' views about other media folk the main focus of attention. Watch the old film Broadcast News. It's all about this annoying dynamic. That's precisely what it is. Because like this is a larger conversation about where the party's future should be going, but it's being had over someone like myself. I'm at the center of it, but I'm just a placeholder, right? I'm simply a placeholder here. I'm not the actual story. The actual story here is where the Democrats go, where the Democrats go from now, where the Democrats go from here. Should the Democratic Party be a centrist party, a center-right party? Should the Democrat actually be a leftist party, an actual, truly leftist party, an actual progressive party? But some Democrats like Khanna argue that the party needs to assemble a broad coalition that must include engaging with Israel critics like Hasan Piker, as PodSave hosts have done, and many progressive candidates here have done. Khanna told Politico, of course, I disagree strongly with some of his statements and point that out, but canceling people or shaming people like Hasan Piker, Sean Ryan, or Theo Vaughn is not the answer. The debate over Piker's place within the party is set to play out across the 2028 field, too. Now they're saying you can't drive a wedge because 55% of self-identifying Democrats don't even know he exists. It's almost like you agree with us that it's bizarre and pointless for politicians to waste time smearing and denouncing him. Yes, exactly. Thank you. And that's precisely the reason why they're doing it, because 55% of self-identifying Democrats don't know who I am. The ones that do love me, right? And the ones that do that don't like me, they're incredibly marginal, right? They're not like self-identifying Democrats who know who I am as like a progressive guy at the Young Turks or a guy who is like an anti-Zionist, all the, like those, not just you guys, but just like the broader Democrats, the people that come up to me with like, those people are far, far larger in numbers than the people who are like, I'm a self-identifying Democrat and I fucking hate him. It's like, those are like Elizabeth Warren staffers. You know what I mean? There's a handful of them. There's a handful of them. They're not very significant. They don't represent a significant, forceful part of the base. They do have institutional relevance because they think I'm like fucking up their jobs, right? Because their job is to just like hold on to power, right, to the best of their ability. And the most effective machine thus far has been to glaze billionaires and their interests and place profits over the interests of the people and be feckless and ineffective at fighting back against the Republican Party, fighting back against fascism, right? But they don't have the numbers. If they did, they would be honest when they run for office, right? They would say, hey, what's up? I'm Mallory McMorrow, and I am basically just an empty vessel for whatever corporate interests that I can massage into my focus-tested messaging, and that's what I'm here to do, right? I don't have any real values. Maybe I have some values here and there that I will represent, but overall, like my positions are very changeable. I'm very malleable, and I'm very susceptible to corporate influence. That's what they would do. Do you think that's a solid way to campaign? Do you think you would win any votes doing that? Of course not. That's my point, right? These guys can't be honest about it. That's part of the reason why a lot of people, understandably, are frustrated with the way politics operates, and even the most, normie, even the biggest normies will always say the classic thing: "Oh, I can't trust any politicians." It's like, yeah, you can't, because we haven't really had a great string of earnest politicians that communicate their worldview openly without fear. You know what I mean? Politico surveyed 14 potential 2028 Democratic presidential candidates, asking whether they would appear on a live stream with Piker if invited. Only 3 definitively said they would. Senators Cory Booker, Ruben Gallego, and Elisa Slotkin all said they wouldn't go on Piker's stream through spokespeople. Mr. Piker's terrible comments about Jewish people, 9/11, and other areas aren't the kinds of conversation Cory participates in, and he will not be joining him on a stream, an aide to Booker told Politico. I think we all know the real reason why Cory Booker wouldn't do that. But it doesn't really matter because he's not winning anything anyway. Cory Booker, a person like think about this. Cory Booker has literally been photographed next to Benjamin Netanyahu last year. Okay? Like, we're talking about a guy who has no problem hanging out with straight up fucking war criminals, right? But I'm a bridge too far. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's very obvious. Okay? It's very obvious. You know where your bread is buttered. But they can't say that. Again, it goes back to politicians can't be honest, right? Politicians can't be honest. Yeah, that's I don't think he's like still homies with Rabbi Shmuley, but he used to be. But that's what I mean. If you want to this is like, you read this statement, right? And then you put your honesty glasses on. If you read the statement at face value, Mr. Piker's terrible comments about Jewish people and 9/11, other areas aren't the kinds of conversation Cory participates in. You put the glasses on and it's like, I don't want to talk to someone who's going to question me from my left flank and expose my immorality, because I, first and foremost, will always defend the state of Israel rather than my own constituents. That's what it is. You put the glasses on and you see the truth behind the statement. This is the fake conversation that are set on the boundaries that they can have this conversation on. The real conversation is, yeah, I don't want to do that because it's going to make me look incredibly immoral and make me look really bad. I obviously don't have an issue aligning with, horrible monsters like Yoav Gallant, right? Like, this is the guy who's like, I don't want to talk to Hasan. Like, okay, well, I don't want to talk to you either. That's not true. I'll talk to anyone. I don't really care. But it's pretty funny to me that, like, these are the guys who are like, remember when libs demanded you applaud Booker for his 25-hour speech that accomplished nothing? I do remember that. Yeah. The other person was Gallego, which, again, in my opinion, is another one of those guys that's like, that famously was podcaster Presses Booker on Netanyahu. What the actual fuck? Yeah, Jennifer Welsh did cook him. This is insane. Yeah, I know. It's pretty funny. Piker isn't inviting these people onto his stream. They're coming to him for his audience. It's true. Exactly. It's exactly what it is. But it's ironic that they're having these conversations so far out from 2028 that they literally are positioning me as like a kingmaker for no reason. But I guess it's healthy to have these sorts of conversations because like inevitably we're going to land somewhere, right? Either the Democrats are going to be like, if you go on Hasan's stream, you know, we will shut off, even in the general, we will not fund your race against a Republican, even if you would be a reliable vote against Republicans, right? If you're a left flank candidate, we're just not funding you. It's over. You're done. You're not a part of the fucking coalition. You're not a part of the caucus. You're out on your own. Like, they might do that. They might just like destroy the party in its entirety, specifically because they want to control the flows of information within the party, right? Control like the power that they have over the party, right? You'll never guess who's back. Oh my God, my goat. My goat. I mean, this is the moment. When the world needed him the most, he vanished, and I'm glad that he's... Didn't you openly say you don't want to be the Joe Rogan to the left? I did, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, they never really listened to me. Not only did I say I don't want to be the Joe Rogan to the left, I also said you can't actually podcast your way out of the problems of the party, ironically enough, right? So who would appear on Piker's stream? Let's look at who would. Ro Khanna, California Governor Newsom, and Rahm Emanuel. That's really funny. I love that. Rahm fucking Emanuel said he would come on the broadcast. That's hilarious to me. I don't know where that came from. He has never reached out to come on the broadcast, but I guess he's doing the rounds. Big Rahm. Big Rammy Rahm. Yeah. It's not on the agenda right now, but the governor has never shied away from debating anyone anywhere, Newsom spokesperson Izzy Garden told Politico. Said an Emanuel spokesperson, Rahm is always willing to have difficult conversations with anyone about the future of the country and to tell people he disagrees with why they are wrong. Aides to Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and Kentucky Governor Andy Bashar declined to comment. I've literally talked to Andy Bashar personally, by the way, when I was at the Pod Johns conference in Washington, D.C. I mean, he did not know who I was back then, but I suspect that given what he has said so far, I was asking him when CNN was asking him like about Israel being a litmus test. I don't know if he'd come on or not. It doesn't really matter. Aides to former president, former VP Kamala Harris, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Mark Kelly, Maryland Governor Wes Moore, J.B. Pritzker, Illinois Governor, did not respond. Asked about some of his controversial past comments, Piker didn't retract any of them. Asked if he had ever misspoken. Misspoken? No. Taken out of context? Absolutely. He did point to one particular quote about his October 7th Hamas attack on Israel, which he noted often comes up when he's criticized. One of the quotes that they love floating around is the October 7th quote where I said, like, rape's happening, like, conversation around sexual violence taking place on October 7th doesn't change the dynamic for me. And I was talking about genocide. I was like, this doesn't justify genocide at all, Piker said. As for the quotes he catches heat for, no, I stand by them, Piker said. So who does Piker like 2028? For 2028, he's got a short list. I said, Georgia Senator John Ossoff will be a dark horse pick depending on how he presents himself, if he has ambitions for higher office. I do love UAW President Sean Fain personally. I like an outsider pick. I like Ro Khanna. I like AOC. I actually like Chris Van Hollen quite a bit as well, even. In the New Yorker article, you said Buttigieg's people reached out to you and you said no. Yeah, that was supposed to be a private conversation that I was having in front of a New Yorker reporter, which is precisely the reason why it was reported in the New Yorker. You know, sometimes I like to keep things private, okay? And the criticism cuts both ways. At the end of the day, of course, I have disagreements with every single one of these candidates, Piker said. No candidate is perfect. An advisor to one potential 2028 candidate, granted anonymity to appraise Piker's influence, told Politico they expect Piker to be a gatekeeper in the primary. But Piker isn't sure how much sway he'll hold. Who knows how things change, he said. I mean, this is a very dynamic environment. So yeah, that's the article from Politico. It has reached, because it's like so perfectly nuclear. It's basically like an atom bomb for Twitter discourse, and that's precisely the reason why there is a lot of discourse on the Twitter discourse machine. Threading some thoughtful reaction to my Hasan Piker item here, Adam Wren reports. Matt Duss. Hasan isn't driving a wedge into the party. The failed, repeatedly discredited, yet unfortunately still entrenched corporate wing of the party is. They fear the left's growing power and see Hasan as a way to make us argue amongst ourselves. We shouldn't fall for it. Crystal Ball says, correct. And the current AstroTurf Hasan freakout is precisely because them elites know they can no longer control the base. Adam Wren, go on Hasan Piker's. The list was asked. What the fuck is that? Bro, they're asking me about 2028 candidates. Like, what do you want me to say? Vladimir Lenin? Like, there are no real, like, right now, we don't even know if there's going to be a 2028 race. Okay, we're so goddamn far out. You guys are insane. Like, the amount of emphasis you place on these like picks is so silly. It's not a real, like, it's not a real question right now. You know what I mean? Say Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. Yeah, I mean, I love Ilhan Omar and I love Rashida Tlaib. I don't think either. Well, first of all, Ilhan Omar is naturalized anyway, and Rashida Tlaib, I don't think has any ambitions of higher office like that. Chatters are acting like they're putting the house. Chatters are acting like they're putting their entire house on the Kalshi prediction market. Anyway, this guy says, go on Hasan's show as a fan, tanky loser, don't sniff nomination. Refuse invite from Hasan, awkward moderate, make one debate, future failed Senate run. Go on, explain why he's a loser, 2 terms in the White House. Yeah, this guy is so... Where does Piker refuses to have you on land, Lamount? That's actually probably 2 categories. Piker refused to have you on because no one would care. Don't make debate stage. Piker refused to have you on because he's scared you'll influence his audience to be smarter. 2 terms, Rushmore. Yeah, this guy is living in delusion land, but that's very funny. All them should go on Piker stream. That doesn't mean they should have him as a surrogate to the campaign. This is the other, like, they're trying to carve out. They're like weirdly trying to concede that you got to go on the stream, but you can't like be next to him. You can't like identify him as a person that's like representative of your values, right? But that's a concession. You're waving the white flag at that point, right? Do you see what I mean? Like, this person has realized he saw the writing on the wall and he went from, yeah, maybe you do go on a stream, but like you don't have them come to your rallies. It's like, okay, why do you get to decide that? Rokana, I'm for engaging Sean Ryan, Theo Von on the Hunt, Andrew Schultz, Cenk Uygur, not canceling or censoring them. Matt Bennett says, leaving your bullshit smear aside, what moderates fear is the Democrats will be connected to a bigot who said America deserved 9/11 that will help the MAGA right win. I don't know why you don't fear that. This is Third Way Matt B. It's ridiculous. And the reason why it's ridiculous is because it's the concept of 9/11 that, like, what I was saying is blowback. There's academic consensus for it. I've apologized for it in 2019. Everybody fucking hates cancel culture. Most Americans also understand that these are wars of choice that we've engaged in the aftermath of 9/11 that actually destabilize all these other places, and they have consequences that we don't want to experience. Okay? So, once again, you can keep coping and crying and shitting and pissing in your diapers, but it's not, it's only these sorts of statements. These sorts of statements are only as damaging as you let them be damaging, right? Leaving your bullshit attempt to weaponize an out-of-context quote aside, what progressives fear is the Democrats will be connected to pro-corporate, anti-worker, neoliberal idiocy that has already helped the MAGA right win repeatedly. Matt Bennett, oh, what was the context? Like, he's just, like, this kind of politics doesn't work anymore. This kind of, like, hysterical. They did this to Bernie in 2016, and it failed, right? Or rather, it succeeded in 2016, but it led to the failure of the party. You know what I mean? So it's very stupid that these guys try to do it over and over again. This like silly, hysterical, like, oh, but what about this? It's like, dog, do you see the current media landscape that we're existing under? Okay. Donald Trump can go on Theo Von's show where Theo Von talks about doing cocaine, and Donald Trump is sincerely asking Theo Von how cocaine makes Theo Von feel. And like, that's a real humanizing moment for Donald Trump. You guys are literally operating on La La Land. And the real reasons why you want to do this, the real reasons aren't because you're, whoa, what the hell? A little baby F there. That was weird. The real reasons why you're saying all this stuff is not because, you're genuinely worried that this is going to actually hurt the viability, the electoral viability of a candidate. Because if you actually saw me as an ally, right? As someone who's ideologically aligned with you, you would just turn around and say the appropriate thing, which is, what the fuck are you talking about? The goddamn president is Donald Trump. He is a psychopath and lies all the time and actually says infinitely more unhinged things that you're claiming Hasan Piker is saying. Live in the real world, please. Like, this is a person that's being disparaged because you just don't agree with them, but you don't actually want to have the conversation on those boundaries, because if you were to have the conversation on those boundaries, most people would be like, well, I agree with the guy that you're calling controversial, as a matter of fact. That's it. That's it. That's the reality. That's the reality of the matter. That's actually what's going on currently. And they can't say that. They can't do that because this is an ideological battle. Okay. Yeah. Will Staken had a good take on this. He's the senior Washington reporter for ABC. He said, getting flashbacks from 2019 when Bernie Sanders intense backlash and basically Dems lost an entire podcast / comedy audience to Trump and MAGA. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Anyway, I mean, just through the nose, Booker, Slotkin, and Gallego accepted a collective 10 million plus from AIPAC and other Israeli lobby groups. So is it a Hasan problem, or a Hasan might ask me questions that I am donor bound to answer a certain way problem? The Donny New York Times piece was super bad. Faith law is weird. Wait, what? The Donny New York Times piece? Donny doesn't write for the New York Times. He writes for CNN. I mean, he does videos for CNN. But there's more. Rotimi Adeoye, who's a New York Times contributor, says, honestly, I hate talking about influencer palace intrigue, but I think the Dems who would not go on Hasan but would go on Rogan are making a weird argument because both have said things that any id-pol progressive would consider bad, and yet Rogan is good and Hasan is bad. I guess the argument that Hasan is worse is that he's further left and more confrontational, but that's a strategic choice, not a moral one. What is this? It's better just to be honest about that than doing the whole, this is a moral stand I must take. Also, if the goal is reaching audiences that don't already agree with you, both Rogan and Hasan have massive platforms of young men who aren't watching cable news. You either want those voters or you don't. You can create someone, but yeah, everyone will see that it's fake. To be honest, ideally, I'd rather everyone just stop treating these online celebrities as deciding factors in a campaign when things like candidate quality, electoral fundamentals, and actually meeting voters where they are, determine election results. This influencer shit is Bush League. I totally agree with Rotimi on this. I said, I think it's insane to place my values and consistent left advocacy anywhere near Rogan's libertarian adjacent MAGA politics. It's clear that they don't want to be challenged by their left flank, especially on Israel or Medicare for all, two issues I'd absolutely raise. To be clear, I'm not comparing your politics to Rogan's. They're obviously different. The comparison is about the audience. Both your platforms reach young men who aren't watching cable news, and the Democrats need a consistent standard for showing up where those voters are. And the reason why I said that to him was because he replied to someone where he was like, well, you know, Rogan and Hasan have said like equally crazy things that could be perceived as anti-Semitic or whatever. And it's like, I don't think that's the same. I've never at most I joke about how silly it is that people say Jews control the media. I've never had a conversation where I was like sincerely talking about whether or not Jews control the media, for example. You know what I mean? It's like one you could actually absolutely point to the anti-Semitism of, the other you can't. Right? Has the stream started yet? Yes, the stream is live. Can you not see it? What's going on? Is your platform mostly young men though? Yes. It's so funny that a lot of people don't realize that, yes, my audience is still very much primarily under 35 white guys. We do the demographics year over year. I'm a lady. Yeah, I mean, it's a very large platform, and only a small chunk of people that are in the broader platform that watch me will, write in the chat, obviously. Yeah. The big tent, Dem should go on Rogan crowd, is a surprisingly cramped tent when it's a couple brown guys outside. Yeah. Come on, bro. Hasan regularly boosts terrorist organizations, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthi. Should Democrats accept this into the big tent? I think a lot of people are saying, I don't personally like his politics, partially because I refuse to understand what he's talking about, or partially because they're saying, like, I do understand what he's talking about, and I don't want to have that conversation at all because it's not one that favors me. So I want to nip this in the bud, right? That's what a lot of people are saying. They're like, I don't like him. I don't like his politics. I don't want to have a national conversation about like what the Democratic Party would look like if they were to lean into his politics. Anyway, what else people said? Hasan responds, I think it's insane to place my values because of advocacy. Democrats who declared 18 months ago that we need our own Joe Rogan are now realizing that the Joe Rogan equivalent will say a lot of stupid stuff, says Frank Luntz. Of course, Frank Luntz is the right wing. Frank Luntz is a right wing focus tester, like pollster. Sorry, I'm all over the place. They can't fit you in the tent. Sorry, they're saving space for Marjorie Taylor Greene. No, they would never have Marjorie Taylor Greene on as well. You know, you're a worse version of Asmongold that takes care of himself. You're comparing someone with a degree in the thing that he's talking about, with like 10 plus years of consistent advocacy and political commentary experience, analysis experience, to a guy who just basically says yeah base over Donald Trump videos as of last year because he realized that that's a really easy way to farm the dumbest people on the planet. I think that shows your lack of intellect or intellectual curiosity. You don't come across like a brilliant centrist here. You don't come across like a moderate when you say stuff like that. You come across like an idiot, and most people can understand that. There's not a lot of back and forth happening about Asmongold's placement in the fucking Republican Party as a mouthpiece in the same way that is happening over me. Don't you think there's a reason for that? All you do is grift over emotionally charged fringes. Yeah, I think the reason why you have to lean into that is because you just, can't have a normal, sincere, thoughtful conversation about this stuff, and it's okay. You just have to like posture in a vague, generalized manner. Oh, you just grift, bro. Yeah, totally. I've been grifting. It's the longest grift of all time that has taken the last 13 years of my life, and a barrage of hatred along the way. Just a grift, bro. Anyway, if 2024 was about the groups, 2028 is going to be about the influencers. I think so too. His Roach logs. Wait, what? So you're just a fan of Asmongold. Ugh, it's always like this. These guys will be like, well, Asmongold sucks too, but you suck even more. And it's like, it turns out you just like Asmongold. Another component of this is that Dems don't get to the media figures that broke through on the right, Rogan, Vaughn, etc. Were not GOP apparatchiks. They were independent figures, more or less with the right of center politics and promote Republicans. But Dem operatives seem to see Rogan and Vaughn and Shapiro Kirk as the same type of figure and only want the latter, party men. They want control and just don't get it. Exactly. You do get the same insults as women law, low-key funny, but also I'm sorry. Yes, I'm the only male victim of objectification. Like it's a kind of a joke, it's kind of a meme, but it's also kind of not a meme. It's also always the same fucking sweaty incels that hate like female content creators that also hate me as well. This is the last thing I was going to show. Worth noting, as third way campaigns against Hasan Piker and moderate Dems join in, that they especially want to reduce far left influencers in infrastructure, which of course barely exists. This is from their stated purpose. Reduce far left influence and infrastructure. Build a moderate democratic infrastructure, including media, talent pipelines, and communication networks. Push back against far left staffers and groups that exert a disproportionate influence on policy and messaging. Ban far left candidate questionnaires and refuse to participate in forums that create ideological purity tests. Okay? Here are some of their thoughts on podcasts. Integrate and engage with the business community. Democrats need to stop demonizing wealth and corporations broadly. Engage with businesses, business podcasts like Earn Your Leisure that reach the aspiring class and entrepreneurs to discuss economic policies. Be pro-aspiration and pro-capitalism in a smart way. Recognize that working class voters value upward mobility and economic success. Have a prosperity gospel aimed at the working class. Call out corporate abuses individually instead of attacking corporations as a whole. Like, this is what the third way method is. The third way method was demonstrated in the last election cycle, right? It was what Kamala Harris's campaign turned into. And it is precisely why they lost. So just like AIPAC can't run candidates on the issue of Israel directly and put Israel as like a salient point in the campaign, and they have to do this like weird engineering around it, third way has to do a similar thing. They want that. They want to change the communications, but most people are too smart to lean into that because they know they'll never win another election again. So they'll restructure, they'll attack people that are calling them out. They're calling out their influence in the party. They'll attack people that they've identified as like real threats to their, institutional power that's going away. And that's it. And it's ironic because so many people do this for free. Like, these guys at least get paid handsomely, right? These guys get paid handsomely. They get rewarded to do this. And yet there are people who are doing it for free in my chat right now. There'll be people that come in here and be like, nah, dude, you're a cancer to the Dems. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? Do you want to defeat Republicans or not? You and I, if you say yes to that, you and I have the same fucking attitude on this. You just have a different opinion as far as how to do it. Make an argument on why your methods are more successful. Right? You might not be that big, but you are significant here as a litmus test for leftist politics, so you should recognize your newfound influence through that. I mean, I recognize it. I do. I think they're glazing me too much, though. Also, speaking of which, this was pretty crazy. And once again, donate to Abdul for Senate. Okay. Mallory McMorrow going on Jewish Insider and starting this next barrage of attacks has led to the right-wing fascist administration's chair of the DOJ task force to combat anti-Semitism to come out and demand, and mods have my donation link somewhere. Here it is. But yeah, Mallory McMorrow and Haley Stevens coming out and like doing this attack against Abdul El-Sayed has led to the right-wing fascist administration's chair of the DOJ task force to combat anti-Semitism to come out and demand that University of Michigan and Michigan State University shut down these two campaign rallies. Okay? Individuals should not score political brownie points by platforming anti-Semites. Jewish students should not be subject to the constant hate and intimidation on their own campuses. Where is the leadership at UMich and Michigan State University? Silence is unacceptable. Federal funding should go to institutions that prioritize education, not ideological agendas or tolerated hate. Okay? Unbelievable. Like, this guy at the Department of Justice is getting his notes from Stop Anti-Semitism, which is like one rabid, psychopathic lady from Long Island. Okay? This is not a real serious institution. There's also the other side of this that I wanted to address one more time, because there is, like, we talked about, you know, the right-wingers and their attitudes and things like that. But Adam Carlson wrote this effort post that I think he thought was very thoughtful. And I'm going to describe to you why it's actually not. Okay. So he had previously talked about how this is most likely not to win voters, but instead is to eat away at Stevens's donor base and present herself to AIPAC and AIPAC adjacent donors as like the reliable person to go to for the pro-Israel or at least Israel adjacent candidate against Abdul El-Sayed's anti-Israel approach, which was true. But then I guess he talked to some people from Michigan, and they told him that no, that's not the case, which is really dumb. And I'm going to explain to you why in a second. Okay, after some reflection and talking to people, including locals that are smarter than me, points 3 and 4 seem way too cynical and galaxy brained. It's not. It's the truth, right? And it's probably not some strategic 4D chess to triangulate a middle path of denomination between El-Sayed and Stevens. I had completely forgotten that the West Bloomfield Temple Israel attack, where 140 preschoolers could have been blown up, was 2 weeks ago. This is unbelievably racist, okay? This is unbelievably racist. But because it's Islamophobic, even people who fancy themselves to be like progressive white guys don't see it, okay? Like tying me and Abdul El-Sayed to a thwarted synagogue attack is fucking insane, dude. That is 2003 era Rush Limbaugh racism. Just because you're saying that and then positioning that as like Jewish fears around this sort of incident happening, if people like myself and Abdul are able to speak to college students, doesn't make it a reality. It's so, and I know for a fact Adam Carlson doesn't even realize what he's doing, okay? And that for many for whom that is still raw, even in the most very progressive Jewish community, both are within about an hour drive, would be raising the temperature, not lowering it. That is disgusting. Like, the shit that you can say about Muslim candidates and Muslim commentators is so unbelievably fucked up. And the reason why it's extra unbelievable that Adam Carlson is saying this is because he was so pro Zoran, and Zoran ate these attacks over and over and over and over again. Okay? So he should have realized that this stuff is very cynical. And Zoran is out there every day trying to do his very best to just be like, here, I'm obviously not an anti-Semite, which should be clear to everyone, but I will go above and beyond to try to make people feel comfortable about my Muslimness, my brownness, sorry. Like, he does that every day to a degree that I think, unironically, is counterproductive because it gives legitimacy to the hysterical fears, right? At a certain point, you have to say, look, man, I'm not an anti-Semite. I've spent this entire campaign cycle advocating for Palestinians because of their humanity. and never leaning into anti-Semitism. And you guys have been trying to whip up an anti-Semitic panic. But we have to realize at a certain point that it's because I'm brown, I'm Muslim, and I'm an anti-Zionist that, there is a lot of hysteria, a lot of racist hysteria. So masquerading that as like legitimate Jewish fears is a very sinister way to do this. It's very racist, okay? That's precisely what was happening with Zoran, and that's what Adam Carlson is doing to me right here, where he thinks like, well, these are really valid fears. Like, what are you talking about? Are they valid fears? Are they valid fears? They can be real fears, right? That can be a real fear. I'm sure there were plenty of people who legitimately thought Zoran is going to set up concentration camps or something. Does that mean it's valid? Okay? When a black candidate is running in the deep red South, and you got fucking Klansmen coming out and being like, well, we have valid fears that they're going to destroy our white Christian identity. Do you take that seriously? No, you do not. You say that's your problem. Okay? That's your problem. It's ridiculous. There's a difference between someone like a Fishback, for example, right? Or someone like Nick Fuentes, for example, who are actually trafficking in anti-Semitic conspiracies, and someone like myself. Okay? So it was very frustrating to read this from someone who thinks like they're, a progressive pollster that is still trafficking in the same biases that they do not even fucking think about, It's unbelievable. I think the difference in encouraging people to go on a guest who has said controversial things in the past and actively campaigning with them is an important distinction. It's not. Some may infer the latter as an endorsement of their views, which no matter what you think of Hasan, you have to admit that some of what he has said could be hurtful to some Jews at a time when many are deeply concerned for the safety of them and their children. Ridiculous. Okay? I will stand on that one more time. Ridiculous. Yeah, if you only read Jewish Insider articles and you place a lot of emphasis in the big 2026 on what the ADL is saying about me, sure, you can whip yourself up in a panic. But it's not true. So why should I do that? Why should you do that? Why should you lean into it? Especially when it has been shown time and time again that institutions that masquerade as Jewish advocacy institutions, when in fact all they do is defend Israel and at times actually harm American Jews, will cynically weaponize false smears of anti-Semitism against anti-Zionists. The Jewish kids are probably fans of yours, by the way. Yeah, of course, of course. For those who think McMorrow is bought and paid for by AIPAC, I would like to remind them that they're expressly backing Stevens in this race, and that McMorrow has stressed that she has not and will not take money from AIPAC. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. She gave privately policy papers to AIPAC, and then also on top of that is very clearly positioning herself to at least get some of the AIPAC heat off of herself right now. Anyway, I'm willing to bet it's not a strategic move. It's a line in the sand for her. Yeah, it's a dumb line in the sand. If you disagree with what she said, that's fine. Your voice will be louder than those that appreciate what she's doing, because that's what algorithms do, promote conflict. Important to remember that Twitter's not real life. I like Abdul, and I totally get why people are voting for him, but let's not jump to the worst conclusions about other candidates just because tensions are high. Like, this is an unbelievably racist thing to say. The only reason why I'm bringing this up, because you guys know I fucking hate bringing up Islamophobia, because everybody goes, here we go again, shut the fuck up, right? It's really a horrible way to campaign in general, right? But I'm sorry, there is no other way to fucking read this. Like, you're tying me to a attack on a synagogue? What an unbelievably racist thing to fucking do. It's insane. And no one, like, everyone reads that and goes, well, this is good analysis. No, the fuck it's not. We have to be a little bit more thoughtful with the way that we talk about these sorts of things, because I do genuinely think that if we don't push back on this stuff at all, people just get more comfortable thinking that they're actually, what? Donnie wrote a piece about you in the New York Times? No, this is not. This is written by Tim Balk, man. We read this article already. He just shared it, chatter. Having this endless, I'm sorry that you've also had so much Islamophobic comments thrown at, especially in the past 2 to 3 years, has grown exponentially. Yes. As someone who absolutely fears the left's growing power, I think the smart place for moderate Dems to go on Piker's show and agree with them that Israel is bad and then stick to their guns on other moderate stuff. Ha! See? Even Matt Iglesias is literally waving the fucking white flag on Israel. Okay? That's it. He's not wrong, right? He's waving the fucking white flag on that. So he's like, dude, just go on and like gain the legitimacy on the Israel issue. Please, you guys are going to fuck this up. That's what he's saying. Yeah, see? Look. And anti-Israel is one of the only non-toxic progressive views. If you're going to give the left something, that's what it should be. Then be pro-growth, tough on crime, etc. And yes, he's right. It's so unbelievably bad for Democrats to consistently posture against someone like myself because of very clearly the values that I represent on this issue. That is a 90-10 issue on our side. It's the Democrats not exactly really taking a consistent moral stance against problematic podcasters or whatever, because they've all said they would go on Joe Rogan. He said, he's clearly right-wing, MAGA booster. It's ridiculous. It actually has everything to do with them not wanting to give ground on the Israel issue and not wanting to even appear anywhere near this issue. I don't know how Adam doesn't see it here when he saw it with Zoran. The Jewish fear smear was used endlessly with Zoran. It was stupid and racist then. It's stupid and racist now. Yeah, the only difference is he likes Zoran. He's probably met Zoran. He doesn't know me, and he doesn't like me. That's it. So for him, he will look through the minutia to be like, well, Hasan has said this, right? Like, I saw a clip out of context, so now I believe the clip out of context that Hasan is actually an anti-Semite. Because, like, they don't know. Most people don't pay that close attention, right? He also most likely favors Mallory over Abdul, but he doesn't want to say it. Yeah. And to be fair, obviously, one, Zoran is the mayor of New York, right? So his worldview versus, like, the way he carries himself now, obviously, he plays a lot more ball than I do, right? He is way, way more conciliatory to smears, no matter how ridiculous and how racist they are. I mean, think about how much it took. Think about how much shit he ate, in especially the last month of that campaign, until he had to put his foot down and be like, enough. This is unbelievable. Why does this video have a crazy whistle on it? I don't understand. Ooh, CNN already made a video. No Kings, progressive social media influencer joins No Kings protest in Manhattan amid flashing billboards and marching crowds in Times Square. Progressive influencers Hasan Piker and Harry Sisson. Oh, Harry Sisson was there. Nice. Now who's the audio pervert? Yeah, I'm the audio pervert. And No Kings protest in Manhattan. The provocative left-wing Twitch streamer making headlines for his loud criticism of the Israeli government described the protest as a good umbrella under which people can advocate for various causes. Not everyone here is actually here exclusively because of the war in Iran, for example, Piker told CNN. Some people are here because there's a war against trans people in this country, and they care about that. Piker also described his role within the Democratic Party, saying despite headlines designating him as an issue for Democrats, he believes he shares the same goals with most. I don't want Republicans to win in this country, Piker said. We can argue on methods. Maybe you think that my worldview, my values, and the policies that I want, the politicians I represent might be different from yours, but at the end of the day, I think we have the same goals. Sasan, a 23-year-old known for posting political videos on his 2.1 million TikTok followers, said, people are angry that we're at war right now and Donald Trump is golfing, adding, it's a betrayal of the American people. He's always on message. He's always on message, this guy. He's always, like, bringing it back to, like, fuck Donald Trump, you know? See, that's the difference. He has the messaging discipline of, like, being a reliable mouthpiece or a spokesperson for the Democratic Party. I have no ambitions of the sort. Had almost 3 times many as the last people in Lauderdale, including Oliver Larkin. Larkinites rise up. Larkin heads. What's wrong? It's good. It's good. All right. Thank you for everything. That was fantastic. You're much better than March. March is done. He's dead. No, he's dead. He's dead to me. He's dead to me. He's dead to me. All right. We'll do. Let me zoom in a little bit. We do it like that. I'm just trying to not show the wind. Like, I feel like the window is lame. You know what I mean? Is this better? Click the Twitter headline I sent you. You got to see this ASAP. Michigan Senate primary erupts over Hasan Piker rallies. What the is this AI? God, AI is so bad. It's so stupid. Unbelievable. I'm so autistic. I got to hold on. There it is. Okay. Where were we? AI is so trash. Moderates leverage extremism that's counting moderates of both sides. Yeah, that's not how that works. Did you see Aaron's effort posting defending you? Lots of corporates claiming Hasan the Hun is anti-Semitic because he's anti-Zionist. Let's look at what he's actually said about Jews and about anti-Semitism. Each of these are quotes from Hasan's streams in which he again and again calls out actual anti-Semitism and speaks up for Jewish people. This is someone who cares a lot about the safety of my Jewish sons, then freaks like Jonathan Greenblatt. Anti-Semitism is a canary in the coal mine of fascism. It's one of the oldest bigotries that has caused those of the Jewish faith a tremendous amount of pain. From pogroms of the Holocaust, Jews have always been singled out by those in power as a scapegoat for instability and economic volatility people in power caused. A resilient, nascent anti-Semitism is a constant threat, especially as economic instability makes those in power seek out old targets. The Pittsburgh synagogue shooting happened not that long ago. Anti-Semitism has been a problem in Western society in perpetuity. It's always been an issue. Originally, it was used to justify pogroms against the Jews, expulsion and murder, and forced conversions. Whether you look at Spain and Portugal or Russia or any other place where Jews live, this shit is so damaging, dude. I think there's nothing grosser than, well, being anti-Semitic, period. But also, there's nothing grosser than both being anti-Semitic and then using the cause of Palestine to feed people more anti-Semitic commentary. This is your pet project, dude. You. What is this? No sides? What? This guy's... I love when some chatters will come in here and have like a totally side project, a side conversation with me. Camera is too zoomed in. You're out of focus. If I'm out of... Oh, yeah, I am out of focus. Here, I'll fix it. It's not the zoom that's a problem. It's the focus that's a problem. Boom. We're good now. Trump glazing China socialism. Yeah, these are from the video, I think. Quick moment to say Newswire. Representative Ro Khanna says Democratic coalition needs to engage with Israel. Critics like Hasan Barker, who once said America deserved 9/11. That's so funny. That's hilarious. Dude, yeah, that's... They put a photo of 9/11. Yeah, they still have not forgiven me that not taking that poly market cash is crazy. It is a bit nutty. Like, you refuse the poly market cash one time. And they just never let up. This is an ongoing gripe that they have with me because I said no when they wanted to sponsor, because they're also, Newswire sponsored by Polymarket, is a Polymarket ad, basically. It's like one long-standing Polymarket ad. And I famously, during the last election cycle, they wanted to sponsor my stream. And the entrance, like they entered the conversation at like $1 million just for the day. It was crazy. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. And ever since then, they have not stopped. Anyway, they've not let up on attacking me. By the way, the AI headline I sent must have changed because it previously said Elisa McMorrow rallies with Muslim streamer Hasan Piker after synagogue bombing. That's insane. See what David Sirota said too? Yeah, I did. We covered it earlier. Oh, these are some of the other bad. Democrat Michigan Senate candidate Elisa McMorrow campaigns with Hasan. Democrat Michigan Senate candidate Elisa McMorrow campaigns with Hasan Piker after attempted bombing of Temple Israel preschool in West Bloomfield. God, AI is going to save us. It's going to save us, chat. Clearly. Cory Booker taking smiling photos with Yoav Gallant after Gallant was indicted by the ICC for crimes against humanity and had an active warrant for his arrest, but drawing the moral line at going on Hasan Piker stream perfectly sums up this bullshit outrage campaign. Yeah. You just got to remember. That was a great rally, by the way. It's always good to go out. It's always good to go out and protest, you know? But there was a huge crowd of Hasan fans at the No Kings protest who thanked him for pulling them out of the right-wing echo chamber and becoming more progressive. This is who AIPAC-backed Democrats are busy trying to stop. A short lapse of people coming up to Hasan during the No Kings protest to thank him. Seems like the more hate he gets from the clowns, the more popular he becomes, and I love to see it. Good for him. Yeah, this is part of the reason why I don't let this shit get to me. You know what I mean? This is part of the reason why, because it's like, I'm simply one part of this. I'm simply only one part of this, right? But it's a fairly robust movement. It's a big movement, man. No Kings, New York City MAGA is furious over how successful this was. It's so funny. Yeah, MAGA was furious. They are coming after you. Be careful, Unk. Briefly spoke to Hasan Piker at the No Kings demonstration in New York today about the debate. Yeah, here, let's watch. That's fast, man.
Debate that's going on about you right now is that you are too extreme, that you are anti-Semitic, and that Democratic candidates shouldn't associate themselves with you.
Yeah.
That's what. Well, could you give us, for the CNN audience, what's your response to that?
It's ridiculous. the only reason why this issue ever gets brought up, it's a heinous smear, first of all. I've spent my entire professional media career and far beyond that combating anti-Semitism. I've been doxxed, swatted by neo-Nazis for my consistent advocacy against anti-Semitism. I just also happen to be an avowed anti-Zionist. I believe Zionism is a very racist ideology. It's an ethno-religious supremacist ideology, and it's the underpinning ideology that has caused the of Palestinians in the hands of Israel and also the United States of America. And because that is such an impossible issue to address on moral terms, that I think a lot of people cynically will say prominent critics of Israel are anti-Semitic. Are there critics of Israel that are anti-Semitic? Absolutely. I'm not one of them. As a matter of fact, I combat and fight against them pretty actively, which is why I find it so distasteful and so ridiculous that these smears would consistently get advanced, only because you can't have a conversation on where the party's moral center is right now. This is a 90-10 issue, you know? After October 7, 2023, there were a lot of people who were not willing to have this conversation about 80 years or 75 years at that time. But now, after 2.5 years of Israel's unlimited and a lot more people are aware about exactly what was going on in the regular lives of Palestinians living under this crippling on a good day, right?
But two things that keep getting brought up is you said America deserved 9/11.
Yeah. Damn, they did you right. I'm kind of shocked it wasn't cut up. I mean, I don't know how much of that will be placed on like regular CNN, but it's Donnie is not Donnie's not gonna f me up. My guy looking like he practiced that shit in the mirror was so clean. It's because I keep repeating it over and over again. That's why I have to repeat myself so much, unfortunately, which is why, it's a somewhat of a airtight message. Why you look like Bigfoot here? New York City DSA hat spotted at No Kings. Yeah, I love that hat.
And you use the term Zionist pigs. So I think there are two things that keep being brought up. And I mean, how do you justify using those, saying that?
I mean, I call Nazi pigs as well. Like I said, Zionism is an ideology. It's up to the individual to associate with it or not. It's not personhood, right? I oppose and abhor racism, ethno-supremacy, racial supremacy of every sort. I'm against it. I'm an anti-fascist. I'm unapologetic about it. And I'm not going to compromise on that. I think these kinds of aesthetic postures are distractions away from the real conversation. I think many people understand it. Even if they don't have the tools to properly communicate it, many people are frustrated. Yeah. On the other camera, really? Do you see that Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco has just been seizing ballots? Started last week. He's running for California governor as well. Mehdi calls out the Dems who go on Bill Maher. Apparently Robert De Niro and Padma Lakshmi were also there at the protest. Yeah, that's my woke goat, Robert. Democratic Senators Cory Booker, Ruben Gallego, and Elisa Slotkin all told Political they won't go on a Hasan show, but they've all been on Bill Maher's show, who says Islam is like the mafia. The Muslim world has too much in common with ISIS. Muslims bring desert stuff to the West, and has also used the N-word on his show. Why the double standard? Slotkin was on Maher's show yesterday. I think we all know what the double standard is. It's because you could say unlimited heinous shit about Muslims, and it's totally fine because Islamophobia is institutionally permitted. Okay? As a matter of fact, Islamophobia is institutionally welcomed. Not only permitted, it's welcomed. Wow, comparing Piker to Maher, didn't your buddy call us inbred bloodthirsty pigs? Piker didn't call glorify murdering. This guy got so horny typing this out. It's got to be a bot, right? Yeah, no, this is okay. I want to see where this account is actually from. It says New Jersey. I doubt it. I don't believe it. The country or region that an account is based can be impacted by recent travel or temporary relocation. This data may not be accurate. AI. Yeah. He's from a country the size of New Jersey. Yeah. Good for them for not going on the performative one show. First of all, like, I don't get it. I'm performatively anti-Semitic. Is that what you're saying? Like, you're undercutting your own argument. You made up an argument. I didn't say those things, right? But you're also, not only is the argument made up, but you also then immediately undercut it by saying it's actually just performative too. It's very weird. like none of this shit makes sense. You will also, you will eventually realize that many of my naysayers, many of my haters are oftentimes not particularly intelligent people. I don't know why it pans out that way, but it just usually how it works, at least in my experience. I'm not just simply saying that. It's just been my experience overall. Anytime I fucking encounter a hater in the wild, sometimes I look through my replies and they're just like angry at just made up shit. Yeah, it's just pattern recognition. Or he's implying that the community is anti-Semitic and you're performing for us. No, I don't think he's implying anything. I think he's just like so angry and so horny. That's all it is. Wait, where's the link? Oh. Meanwhile, Huckabee thinks he's married to Israel. Yeah, that's really funny. Mike Huckabee loves Israel. Mike Huckabee, I think, genuinely does love Israel. Like if there's a guy, you know how like, you know how sometimes you say like, if you love Israel so much, why don't you live there? Like Mike Huckabee does live there. That's number one. And he's the one guy he's the one guy that you can't actually be like, if you love Israel so much, why don't you marry it? Because he would be like, I would marry Israel. Like he'd be like, I sacrificed my firstborn for Israel. I love Israel so much. I would marry it. I wish I could marry Israel. Israel. Is he Jewish? No. He is the one constituency in this country. Like, obviously there's a lot of Zionist Jews, but there is one constituency in this country that has, one, outsized influence in politics, and two, is way more zealous, demonstrates way higher degrees of zealotry, evangelical Christian Zionists. Okay? They get virtually no pushback for how much they ride for Israel and how, like, what the severity is, the severity of the tone. It's wild. This isn't to say that, like, there aren't, prominent Zionist Jews, right? They obviously are, right? A lot of Jewish institutions especially will openly associate with Israel, openly promote Israel, which I think is very damaging, even if the Jewish people are not of one mind. But most people's understanding is like, oh, this is like a Jewish thing. It's a lot more of a Christian thing than it is a Jewish thing, I promise you. This isn't to take away the responsibility from Zionist Jews either, for the record. I'm not doing that at all. But I do have to explain to you that there is one group out there that rarely ever gets the attention, even though they play a massive role. You're finally getting some institutional support for these Islamophobic attacks against you? Oh, Care National? Hell yeah. Even a bigger problem, what is Senator Slotkin doing on Bill Maher's show? A few days ago, Senator Slotkin condemned a Muslim Democratic politician for associating with Hasan the Hun, yet she has no problem associating with Maher, a man with a long, clear, and indisputable history of anti-Muslim hate. The double standards that American Muslims face, even from a senator who represents one of our nation's largest Muslim populations, are truly remarkable. If consistency means anything to Senator Slotkin, she should denounce Bill Maher's bigotry and apologize for embracing him. I mean, I don't even fully love this because, like, what they associate with my commentary, even what they say about what I'm saying about Jews, is nowhere near as heinous as, like, and it's false to begin with, but it's nowhere near as heinous as what Bill Maher says with regular frequency about Muslims, Muslim Americans, Islam. Like, it's unbelievable. Did not know that Stephen A. is actually a bit of a maniac, defending AIPAC on the war and the war on Iran. Bizarre. Yeah, he is a freak show. Didn't Bill Maher glaze 9/11 pilots? He did. And he did it right after 9/11. Yeah. Peter Savodnik from the Free Press says, he's confused about the nature of the new hypercharged anti-Israel sentiment on the left. It has nothing to do with the policy or the Middle East or rebuilding Gaza or the Iran war. It is fueled by a worldview that is fundamentally anti-Semitic, and there's no making common cause with that. It's not a matter of negotiation or finesse. It's about guardrails. Yeah, okay, dude. Trump glazed 9/11 during 9/11? Oh, that's true. I forgot. Donald Trump did literally glaze 9/11, like in the morning of 9/11. It was pretty crazy. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Okay, wait, I don't want to get in the backstage. right now. I feel like if I do that, I'll just deafen myself.
Healthy, white, Christian men, and everybody else. And everybody else was chattel or a little better than chattel. That system, which we think of as a horrible...
Oh, I've been invited to speak. Uh-oh.
In American history,
Hello.
that type of person was the best of times. It was when America was great.
Okay, so I need to get dots on people's names.
Hold on.
Okay.
Very clearly, they said, Hasan, we want more billionaires, please. Yeah, I tried my best. I realized, we want more billionaires. They kept saying, what we want is to make sure that we subsidize billionaires. What we want is to make sure we don't get any of our productive output back. You have people lining up to meet you. Okay, so you see, that's also a mistake. You think that they were lining up to meet me. They were lining up to meet me, to say to me, we want to disavow you. You are not sufficiently pro-Israel. That's what they kept saying. So you must have, wait, are you serious? Bro, there's always one guy that's just like maybe a little too autistic. You know what I mean? Every time I lay it on every time I say unbelievably sarcastic things that are just like impossible to believe, there's gonna be a guy that's like, what? What the fuck? No, man, I'm fucking joking. That's crazy. ADO's Jonathan Greenblatt demands Democrats disavow all No Kings protests for marching with Hasan Piker. Imagine they believe the Emma Vigeland condemnation too. I mean, there's probably some people who do that. Like, they're like, yeah. Guy who's like a fan of both me and Emma Vigeland, who's like now a little bit confused because they're like, oh, I really appreciate both of these people, but I guess she had to do what she had to do, This is the biggest tragedy of the day. Clavicular didn't instigate the fight between the women. He is autistic. Sources. I wish I had a fa. Wish I could have tossed a fa in here. This is a fa moment. Westchester Dems just made a post denouncing you after meeting Effie. They did. It's so fucking funny. Like, at a certain point, you got to ask, like, who is this for, right? Here. Thank you. Oh, you want to see this clip? Here. A random old lady interrupted a CNN interview at the No Kings protest and called out the Democrats for not doing enough.
The most recent sort of conversation, debate about you.
Hi. Who are you?
Who are you?
Just a random guy. I'm just a random guy. I'm a political commentator. On Twitch is a website. You're on it now too.
And you're also on CNN.com.
And you're also on CNN. Love you too. Thank you for being here.
Why did you show up today? Why did you come here today?
Because I think he's
okay. Do you think are the Democratic Party meeting the moment?
No. I was about to ask the same question. You don't think so?
The Democratic Party is meeting the moment?
Yeah.
No.
How do you like Zoran Mamdani?
I love him.
That's all.
Didn't even fucking skip a beat. Boom. I love him. Boom.
Awesome. Hell yeah. Nice to meet you.
Okay. I'll have to look out for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Oh, never mind.
I did want
to.
Can I take a picture of my mom with you?
Sure.
She's a huge fan.
All right.
Twitch is a website. Twitch, thankful for making you the poster boy a few years ago. Bitch, the way they treat me nowadays, I should be literally telling them I'm a YouTube streamer, okay? I should be telling anybody who asks me what I do for a living, I'm like, oh, I'm just a YouTube streamer, That's the mom you ban probably? Nah. She doesn't know your name. She'll never find you online. Dog, I don't think she's going to find me online, okay? Actually, that's not even true. I think she will find me online because there's so many people have already seen this clip. This clip is going super viral. Look at this. It already has like 19K in like, 3 hours. So it's someone from her immediate family. She is a queen. Show the snub. She don't got internet. Yeah, she is a queen. Yeah, we got to get this on my TikTok. What is this? New word? Is it the towers? Going up to girls and saying, damn, you're like by yourself maxing might be the new
He starts
method.
looking right away.
What does that smell?
Damn, you're like by yourself maxing. I feel bad. You okay?
What is that?
That's crazy. Bro, put this man in jail. Keep this man in jail. Keep this man in prison, bro. Supermax. Supermax. God damn. What the fuck is this polymarket funded bullshit? Yeah, bro, because I said no to their money one time, then they never let it go. They never let that shit go. Yeah, this is the strongest, most valuable digital media flank of the Dem coalition right now, and the only one regaining the trust of young and disillusioned voters. Centrists and Zionists can fight it as hard as they want, just like they did Zoran, but the reality isn't changing. Yep. I'd also note that online consumers now are much more attuned to coordinated narrative campaigns than in the past. When a bunch of people all push similar language in the same 2-day period is obvious, and again, like Zoran, can often yield the opposite of its intended effect. I think that's what it is. That's what's going on. Like the amount of yelling about what I represent would have been unbearable a couple years ago. It would have destroyed me, you know? Now this shit just washes over me like it's nothing. It was so nice meeting you. There were so many people crowding around to say hi. I had to remind myself Hasan is in fact very famous and not just my close personal friend that only me and my 3 friends know. That's so funny. Establishment Dems think they don't have a worse approval than Trump. Bro, they're living in la la motherfucking land. Yeah, also, more to the point, all these guys are feigning outrage about Piker's 9/11 comments while they go on Bill Maher, who is famous, above all else, for praising the 9/11 hijackers. Yeah, but now he's Islamophobic and pro-Israel, so it doesn't matter. That's the whole point, right? After the virtual event, compared to the Dems' new faces slate, no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. It's going to bum me out. It's going to fuck me up. All right.
Oliver, I'm going to change your nickname to include.
Okay. Hello?
There you go. Can hear you, can see you. Perfect. Jesus, where's change nickname button?
Qasim Rashid says he's in the server now.
In the server now?
Yeah.
Okay. That is not true.
Okay. I don't know.
Can you guys
They need to fill out the. I think they.
Yeah, we can hear you, Hasan.
I'm gonna deafen myself now because I'm live already.
Public that doesn't want to go back to the horrible times when most people were in.
And I'm muting myself as well. Okay. Yeah, there's an echo. I'm in a server. I'm in a Discourse server with. I know you can hear everything. I know. Calm down, chatters. Jesus Christ, y'all are annoying. I know. Okay. So what are we doing here? HasanAbi, a virtual peace rally, you said? Yes. There's a virtual peace rally that's currently taking place, and I'm going to be doing a 15-minute slot, okay? But they wanted me to be in the green screen. I mean, in the green room, sorry, before we get started. This sucks. Okay, bro, cool your jets, all right? It's supposed to start at 3:30. And I'm, hold on. I'm in there waiting. Signal me when we're going up, because I'm live already and deafened. Okay. So I'm gonna play some Subway Surfers or cute animal videos. Okay, everybody calm down. I'm gonna do 15 minutes in this peace rally. I did see Aaron coming to my defense, yes. Anti-Israel sentiment is hypercharged zealotry as compared to me, who works for Hasbro Inc. and calls any critics of Netanyahu anti-Semites. Mind giving chat a shout out during the presentation? Oh, 6:30 my time, 3:30 in like 3 minutes. We're going to go up. Okay. Is progressive socialism a thing? Yes, it is, but this is not that. But there are a lot of socialists on this. But yeah, I'm gonna be on with Oliver Larkin and Hartzell, and we're gonna be talking about building an anti-movement in Cuba convoy and international solidarity. Okay, on the virtual peace summit. You didn't write your speech again. It's not a speech. It's a convo with 2 other people, 2 other candidates that are running. No Flame, do you think you might be laying it on too thick when you spoke with CNN by using certain language like unapologetic? Wait, what? Yeah, I am an unapologetic anti-Zionist. I'm also unapologetic in combating all bigotry. Did you see Matt's tweet? Yeah, I did. It's so funny. You guys were clearly not in the car ride when we were talking about all this stuff, because I addressed all of this stuff in the car ride. Yes. Hearing more about Hasan Piker than ever before. Seems he's a big player in the Democratic Party. So no gaming? Maybe later, chatter. Just kidding. Not happening. That's the 5K that left? Yeah. Crimson Desert Day? Okay. Will you try Resident Evil 9? No, I will not be doing that. Hold on. I'm going to grab my Zins real quick. I'm a Zinfidel. You lie as easily as you breath about gaming. Yeah, it's true. I do. HasanAbi Jr. Damn. Damn. Just 100 big bones. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Labubu night when? Labubu night forever. Okay, your main stage audience, when you're invited to join, that's your segment. So it's now? Okay. All right.
Knows how.
Robert, it says failure to load camera.
Okay. From Discord? Okay. It seems it's working.
How about now?
Well, on our end, it's working. Or
I'm gonna mute them for now that so you guys can't hear them. But I'm on the backstage before the main stage now. Or I'm in the audience, I guess. Or are you good to leave? Is everything okay? Okay, they're literally doing like technical stuff. I'm in the back rooms and they're doing technical stuff. They did not factor in how this would be live streamed on my end. Hasan figuring on Facebook. No, it's not even my fault. It's not even on my end. They're moving.
Party base. So they have gotten more strategic and sort of savvier in the way that they mask their money. And so perhaps you could speak to that, because I think it's really important for people to understand. It's not enough anymore just to ask politicians if they won't take AIPAC money, because there's a variety of strategies that they're deploying to make it so that it isn't technically AIPAC money, even though it's coming from the same set of donors. And you saw that directly in your race.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I saw it when I first ran for this seat in 2022, when it became the most expensive primary in North Carolina's history, with AIPAC coming in with over $2 million, and crypto billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried, who's now in jail for fraud, came in with another $2 million. And then 2026, this election, we saw that shift from a lot of the work that Casey and Track AIPAC has done of educating folks, and just the local grassroots pressure that we were able to put on Representative Fushi, that at the end of 2025, she finally said that she was no longer going to take support from AIPAC, even though it took 3 years into the... it took her flying on an AIPAC-sponsored trip to Israel to take pictures with Netanyahu, sending billions of our taxpayer dollars to fund it for her to even take that stance. But it wouldn't have happened if it weren't for this education piece. And since she'd taken that pledge, and we had been able to outraise her, out-organize her in every way, that in the last week before the primary, that was when the establishment was kind of like, oh shit, like, we're about to lose this seat. And we saw over $2 million dumped in the last 5 days of this race from the AI lobby of Anthropic, whose technology has been used in the strikes on Iran, whose technology was used in the illegal invasion of Venezuela to kidnap their president, as well as through these shadow PACs, where essentially AIPAC is setting up, or AIPAC-aligned donors are setting up these PACs to funnel in their donors into races that the candidate has said disavowed AIPAC, or that they know that it's going to cause backlash. And we saw what they did in Illinois with the Elect Women, the progressive change PACs, the way that they were spending on behalf of another candidate to take votes away from Kat Abu-Ghazaleh. The way that they were working, but also it backfired for them there, because we saw that their preferred candidate of Fine didn't make it through. We saw the same PAC that was used in my race. It's called Article 1 PAC. Is the same group that spent in against Ana Lilia Mejia. And what's unfortunate is that within our Democratic Party, is that our establishment doesn't seem to realize that the base is just against war in general. Like, the narratives that we hear from folks are like, oh, well, we're against Trump's war. We're against Trump's invasion. And it's like, yes, we're against that, but we're against any war. Just if the president was a Democrat, we wouldn't be for the war then either. we wouldn't be for us using our taxpayer dollars to bomb children. And unfortunately, and this is one of the reasons I run, is that there's such a deep disconnect between our elected leaders at the federal level to the people and the human beings of the West. And that's why they're able to just send these billions of dollars, write these blank checks to send bombs to destroy hospitals, destroy schools, tear apart families, turn a blind eye. You know, my opponent, Representative Fushi, and there were several forums when she was asked about her funding and support from AIPAC. And in one of the forums, she was questioned about, why did you take this money? And her response was, well, I didn't know who they were. How do you take over $2 million from an organization and not know who they are?
That is so incredibly dishonest.
Yes. And then on top of that, she was later then, it was at another forum. And I said that I'm proud to be the only candidate in this race that has not accepted a cent from corporate PACs, the pro-war lobby, and I have not spent billions of our dollars to fund the killing of over 70,000 Palestinians. And her response was, I haven't funded the killing of anyone. What do those billions of dollars towards bombs go to?
Yeah.
They're not building homes. They're not building communities.
I was telling you, you ran two incredible races, came this close, and you forced her to take new positions. So incredibly, incredibly important there. We've got some new folks, a young up and comer you may have heard a little bit about, especially recently in the news, the extremely controversial Hasan Piker. Hasan, great to see you.
Yeah, I hope that we can start off with 10 condemnations and disavowals before we continue.
Let me just go through the panel here and ask everyone if they could just real quick condemn Hasan Piker, please.
A major
how are we doing this?
Condemn.
Submitted
You're a little bitch. Condemn.
Leah, I'm going to get to you in just a second, but Hasan, I know that you have kind of limited time, and I saw you're out at the No Kings rally today. What was that? What was that experience like? Are people upset? What's the vibe after all of this news coverage about you?
Are people upset at me? No, obviously, if that's what you're asking. But the vibe is always the same at these rallies. There's a lot of kind-hearted liberals, self-identifying liberals that unfortunately don't have the language to indicate exactly what their frustrations are, because there's a limitation there where I think that's part of the reason why they express no kings, right? It's all encompassing. But they're very clearly agitated with not only the Republican Party, not only with Trumpism, MAGA, but they're also somewhat frustrated with the Democratic Party due to the Democratic Party's feckless indifference to all of these problems that are taking place from the domestic issues, the issues around the economy, but certainly the endless wars that we are waging for no discernible reason. But yeah, what's always interesting to me is the demographics. It's always older, somewhat well-to-do white liberals that are primarily attending these sorts of movements. It's very diverse. It's much more diverse this time around. And there were a lot of people.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
But I do see it as somewhat of a pressure valve where clearly people are frustrated and they just don't really know what to do. And that is born out of the fact that the options, the more productive, historically, the more productive forces of pressure have been totally eradicated in this country. And I'm, of course, talking about labor militancy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's no political education to be able to properly express these desires, and there's no real pressure point that they can lean into that revolves around organizing. So we just kind of walk around the street a little bit, bang some drums, and feel a little bit better about ourselves. Now, to say all of that doesn't mean that this is utterly unproductive. I'm not criticizing it at all. I think it's always great when people go outside and show that they have the numbers and show this administration that is somewhat responsive to big crowd sizes, as we know, that there are a lot of people who hate them. So it's good.
Yeah. I think it's also just gives people some courage to see the numbers out in the streets too. And hello also to Oliver and Hartzell here, two fantastic candidates who've stepped up to run. And Hasan, I don't know if you know Lily Greenberg Call. You probably remember she resigned from the Biden administration over their policy of pursuing genocide. And so Lily, maybe you can speak to some of what it looks like from the inside and some of the, the reasons why, the Democratic Party did fund a genocide and didn't, refuse to put Palestinian American on the stage at the DNC, and why the leaders have been very tepid in particular. And, they'll say, oh, well, Trump isn't consulting with us about the war or isn't planning the war properly. But to get just a full-throated condemnation seems to be pulling teeth.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think folks at this point are really, like, everything that Joy said, everything that Kyle said, I think the public is really aware of the reasons why Democrats are unable to truly condemn the war and also, truly condemn and then use their power and leverage as, representatives of the U.S. Congress or folks in the administration, leadership, American government officials to actually try and change anything on the ground in Palestine. One of the reasons why I think my story made the splash that it did was unfortunately that I was the only Jewish official to publicly leave. There were some folks who left privately, and I wish that they had shared why they left and used, what felt like an important role that Jewish Americans have to play, and especially Jewish Americans in government. But also because that I grew up very pro-Israel, and I used to be involved with AIPAC when I was young, because that was just what my community did. If you cared about politics, which I did, because I was a nerd, and if you cared about Jews, in particular, you were pro-Israel. It was whether you were a Democrat or Republican, it didn't matter. And for me, also I grew up in San Diego in a more conservative community with a lot of Republicans. Israel was kind of the one thing that we could agree on. And so I spent a lot of time in that space and started to change my mind as I got to college and got to actually meet Palestinians and, be confronted with the reality of the history of the state of Israel that I was only told, very propagandized, very whitewashed history of. But also as Trump was elected and it became very clear to me, I was like, why am I sharing space with white nationalists and with Christian evangelical right-wingers who, and why do these people feel empowered to tell me what to do, right? To tell me not to walk out of an AIPAC conference where Trump is speaking, which is something that really happened. This guy with a giant wooden cross looked at me and said, "This is really not polite of y'all." And I was like, hold on, I thought people here were here because they cared about Jews and American Jews. And again, I was like 20 or 18, but all of that, that kind of like ugliness rising to the surface is what helped to break a lot of the cracks for me. And then working in the administration, even when I went in, was already moving to the left in a lot of ways and was very clear-eyed about the role of AIPAC and the role that corporate interests play. But it was another thing then to see the genocide unfold and to see that, I was organizing massive dissent throughout the government, Capitol Hill staffers, administration, people across ages, rank, folks at the State Department, folks where I worked at Interior, it didn't matter. It felt like pretty much everyone around me, for varying reasons, thought that we weren't doing enough and thought that our policy of unconditional support for war crimes that was in violation of our own laws and was also going against, both the expertise of people in government and the majority of opinion of American voters. We were all on the same page, but our bosses wouldn't listen, and people just were incredibly boxed out. I've had Palestinian friends of mine get told to their face by members of Congress, we sympathize with you. You have the moral argument, but until you bring us money or votes, nothing is going to change. And I think that it's clear incredibly. I mean, that's how if you want people to care about government or care about democracy, that's a really good way to do it. But I think it's very clear to everyone now that AIPAC, functions as a right-wing organization, and that it's a combination of industries, as y'all were saying. Like it's tech, it's AI, it's defense contractors, but it's also just the corporate powers that be. And it has, nothing to do with protecting Jewish safety, of course, and nothing to do with protecting the interests of the American people. And it's not even just about foreign policy, because all of these things are connected. Our war economy lines the pockets of billionaires here. Tech makes a lot of money, in the ICE and deportation and incarceration system. Like all these industries profit from forever war and incarceration and deportation, and those are the people who give the most money to our representatives. And because of the way our political system is set up, which needs to be fundamentally changed, the people who give that kind of money are the ones that people in power listen to. And yeah, I mean, that is unfortunately the reality. I think that there is a shift in terms of being able to buy. It is harder now, and it will continue to get harder to buy people's votes because we have access to internet and social media and the kind of platforms like the one we're on right now that help people break through some of the mainstream media and just like lack of education and lack of political education in this country. But that's also why these like mass mergers of all these media companies are going through, and why someone like Jeff Bezos even wants a newspaper in the first place, because they want to control the flow of information that reaches voters. And that's one of the reasons why I don't know how familiar people are on this call with the organization called A New Policy that was founded by two of the other folks who resigned from the administration. But I'm doing some work with them and supporting them, because I do think it's going to take a combination of outside pressure and people who know how to play the inside game, and to like really change the politics around Israel, Palestine, and create those new incentive structures within Washington.
Well, we really admire you for the journey that you took, and also the courage that you showed to come forward. It was incredibly important, and for the work that you're doing. And Lily, Casey, Joy, Nida, thank you guys so much. I could talk to any one of you guys for like the whole night, but we have a million guests in the lineup. So thank you all so much. Love you guys. Great to see you.
Thank you so much. Happy to be
Hasan,
here.
I think one of the strategies, in terms of, you have these mainstream politicians who realize now that they are wildly at odds with the base of the party, is now, I mean, I think this is part of what's happening with the whole decision to like demonize you, even after Cuomo tried this and it didn't work too well in the mayor's race, is they also don't want to have to talk to you, because they know they're going to have to answer questions that are going to make them look really bad. So I think that's part of what's going on here too. Like Alyssa Slotkin, I think, was one who was like, that's out of bounds, well, she doesn't want to have to answer the questions that you would put to her.
Yeah. I find it really funny because like, I never invited them onto my show. They're just like saying that they refuse to talk to me ahead of time, and it's very funny because like there are some establishment liberals that have wanted to come on the show, and I've kept it private in the past, but one of them actually happened. My refusal happened in front of a New Yorker journalist, and I didn't realize that wasn't off the record. So that's. If you want to find a name, I'm not going to say it, but it's on a New Yorker magazine article. Now, what's interesting is, you nailed it. These guys don't want to have that conversation at all, and I think what they are trying to do, what they think is they're operating with an old guard mentality, where they think like, oh, it's very prestigious for a random Twitch streamer to appear alongside a politician. It's giving them credibility. It's very prestigious for a random Twitch streamer to get favorable media coverage from legacy publishers, like the New York Times. We went to the Vanity Fair's Oscar party. Like, we have to do something about this. And what they don't understand is that in the new media environment that we exist in, I get a lot more real, broad awareness out there when I appear on Theo Von's show. That's just the reality. The eyeballs and the attention are, maybe fortunately or maybe unfortunately, in the hands of people who are in new media, which don't have these similar attitudes, don't have this kind of like a gatekeeping perspective. And it's not necessarily good for me when a politician comes on my show. As a matter of fact, I get inundated with smears. It's good for them. I do it because there are politicians I want to hype up. I mean, Oliver's in here right now. He was one of the people that we both fundraised for and also had on and interviewed. So I think a lot
And
of
just for
people
people to
understand
know, Oliver's running against Jared Moskowitz in Florida in a Democratic primary, and very important race there.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, most people understand that, and that's precisely the reason why they are hearing, you know, Third Way make a big fuss about this issue and demanding that Democrats draw a line in the sand, and maybe even getting a little bit of help from some of the other advocacy groups and lobbying arms that we have heard from earlier. I'm of course referencing Israel. That politicians do these sorts of call-out posts. And it's really remarkable that they've chosen a 90-10 issue in the Democratic Party's base to like draw a line in the sand over, because most people understand that this is not about perceived anti-Semitism or anything like that. It's absolutely about genocide. It's absolutely about apartheid. And it's absolutely about denying aid to Israel, like conditioning aid to all countries, but certainly denying aid to Israel for its crimes. It's illegal in our laws for us to give a single dime to Israel, because they're very clearly using it to violate our laws and violate international human rights laws.
Yeah. I also want to welcome in Qasim Rashid. He is a human rights lawyer, author, former congressional district candidate out my way in Virginia, and very courageous person as well. And mentioned before Hartzell Gray, but just to give people the details there, he's a Democratic Socialist. He's a former NPR host. He's running for Congress in Missouri's 4th Congressional. Is that Kansas City, Hartzell?
Yep, KC. That's us.
Very nice.
It's a Super Bowl district. I don't know if you knew that.
Gotcha. Hartzell, what are you seeing in your race in terms of, how animated people are about the war right now?
Yeah, and if I can start real quick, just to kind of piggyback on the AIPAC conversation. So before we had even announced our race, so we were actually running in the 5th against a 20-year AIPAC incumbent, a Democrat. This is before the gerrymandering assault, right? And so at the time, we hadn't gone public with our race at all. We had done some preliminary paperwork and things like that. But I'm on Insta. It's a Sunday night, and I get a random DM, and the person says that, "Hey, congrats on your race," and she has it all laid out for me. And she says, "I'm with one of the biggest lobbying firms in the country. Would love to reach out and have a conversation." Like, literally says lobby in the email. Like, it's crazy, right? So I sent that to my campaign manager, and like, no ifs, ands, or buts, like mask all the way off. It literally said her name at AIPAC.com. And so what we did immediately was go hit up our friends at Track AIPAC. So shout out Casey one more time. But it is just another example of trying to buy off another black face to shill and stump for a genocide and an apartheid and an ethno-national state. And so this is the kind of game, and to them this is a game, but it is a real life, it is our lived experience for us, but to them it is just a pawn, a chess piece. And at the time, by the way, Cleaver is an AIPAC candidate, the 20-year, 80-plus-year-old incumbent. So they are still going to hedge their bets for the young black dude as opposed to shilling for Israel with the old black dude, right? And so that is just right off the bat. I want to just say how much like this is an assault on democracy in the guise of human rights for a marginalized group, and I just think that that is disgusting, to be honest with you. So what I'm seeing on the ground, I am seeing people who have worn the Trump hat 3 times, will vote for him another 3 times, which I think is probably their plan, I think, at this point. And what they know about Trump, to quote some of the evangelical words, it's like they know Trump is an imperfect vessel, right? But it is the MAGA Republican congressman they have, who I'm going up against, Mark Alford, who is supposed to, soothe Trump's worst angels. So I can't get them to say that Trump sold them down the river to Israel. But what they are telling me when I knock those doors, they're saying, "Hey, Mark Alford sold us down the river to Israel." Because our folks understand that, private equity who are taking up our apartments in downtown Kansas City are also taking up the apartments in rural America, but also their farms, right? So why are we sending bombs to blow up babies in schools when we could be, I don't know, funding rural hospitals here are just making sure we get housing, a guaranteed job. Like, our folks are feeling this. Missouri is the show me state, and these folks are showing their asses. And so what we are doing is we are coming after theirs. And that is a populist. Like, this is a red state that also voted to raise the minimum wage. This is a red state that voted to get rid of right to work. They gave paid time off. Now, the Republicans, they, of course, have fought us at every turn. We codified abortion. Now it's back on the ballot. Make that make sense. So again, like, this gerrymandering fight is happening now, but it's something that us working people, we have been under the thumb of the empire. We understand what this is. Are folks who are profiting off of our pain, right? Profiting off of genocide. What we should be doing when it comes to domestic security or whatever we want to call it, let's actually make sure that the global south is going to be around for a while. How about we make sure that we fund UNRWA? How about we make sure that we do peace through peace, because peace through strength doesn't make any sense.
Well, Hartzell, I mean, that's a great way for us to kind of turn our conversation to Kasim here. You're a human rights lawyer, obviously. There's like this kind of, I would say, ignorant understanding within some Democratic Party consultants that nobody votes on foreign policy, and then if it doesn't affect their pocketbook immediately, that it's not going to be a motivating issue at the polls. What has your experience been in relation to that kind of theory?
Well, the short answer is that it's a crappy theory that's been disproven repeatedly. But before I even dive into that aspect of it, that theory could have some merit, some legitimate merit, if the Democratic Party had been a party that championed working people, if it worked on getting corporate money out of politics, if it worked on raising the living wage when they had the trifecta, and not letting the Jim Crow filibuster prevent them from doing something as basic as that. If Biden and Harris had fought to extend the child tax credit, which once it expired because they capitulated to Manchin and Sinema, childhood poverty raised by 33%. Literally overnight, if they had canceled student debt, if they had passed universal health care. So they make this stupid argument, but then in the meantime, when you ask them about working families issues, they're abysmal. People forget that under Biden and Harris, forget the inflation part of it, that was tied to COVID, and the US did actually better than most of the developed world on the inflation side. But on just sheer wealth and income inequality, the United States continued to be the worst in wealth and income inequality in the developed world. 60% of Americans can't even make ends meet. So this argument that they vote with their paycheck, if the Democratic Party, if the establishment actually believed that, then pass some goddamn policies that reflect that. But beyond that, what we know from more than 30 surveys conducted during the 2024 election was that the number one issue, and IMEU did a poll right after the election as well, the number one issue was, why are we funding a genocide in Palestine right now? Why are we sending $38 billion to a regime that's being credibly accused of war crimes and genocide when my kid can't get enough to buy school lunch, or I can't afford basic daycare? And so I think this the disconnect of the domestic policy that isn't serving working people, and then not recognizing that people aren't stupid and they see that Israel has universal health care, we don't. They have free college tuition, we don't. They have abortion access, we don't. You're not inspiring people to come out and vote for you. You're simply pointing out your own hypocrisy and not realizing it. The last thing I'll point out is that Biden ran on Build Back Better. That was his shtick, right? That you elect me, I will save the soul of America, I will restore order, I will restore a sense of decency. And then the second they ran into a tiny bit of opposition from within their own party, they just dropped it completely. And we saw Harris do the same thing as well. Ran a strong campaign at the start, and the second her brother-in-law said, hey, maybe lay off on the attacks on the corporate executives, we saw that whole thing shift again. And I think until the Democratic Party establishment recognizes that we need more than just slogans, it can't be just, that meme of the difference between Republicans and Democrats is Republicans will bomb a brown country and Democrats will put a pride flag on a plane and bomb a brown country. Like, the difference cannot just be that. It has to be substantive. And until that happens, we're going to keep losing elections.
So Hasan, you raised money for Oliver. You did some. You guys streamed together. So
Yeah,
Oliver
we
was
got
not
like
like
60
how did that go for you guys?
Materially changed the course of our campaign. And I think that was really just a flashpoint in what so many people across the country have been feeling. And honestly, why Hartzell and I came together to help organize this event, which with such an incredible lineup, I can hardly believe how many people are participating. But it makes an awful lot of sense because when Jared Moskowitz came out against the Ro Khan and Thomas Massie War Powers Resolution, Jared Moskowitz went so far as to call it the Ayatollah Protection Act. That was just an insult. It was a slap in the face to his colleagues. And that was really the first moment. I've been running against Moskowitz since last year, and he's been awful on many different issues preceding this. But this was a flashpoint because he was giving Donald Trump a blank check to take us into war when my generation, Hartzell's generation, our communities have been completely divested from to spend trillions and trillions of dollars overseas. And so it occurred to me that, yes, I need to elevate this fight against Jared Moskowitz, but there are candidates waging this fight all across the country against AIPAC Democrats, against AIPAC Republicans, and so that we needed to organize. And that's my background is as an organizer, but going on Hasan's stream, and I find it really irritating, but also a little bit humorous because not to compare Hasan at all to Joe Rogan, but I do remember a discourse around a certain Democratic candidate for president, an independent from Vermont, going on Joe Rogan in 2019, and people lost their freaking mind that Bernie Sanders went on Joe Rogan's show. And then fast forward 4 years, why didn't Kamala Harris go on Joe Rogan's show? So I can see a scenario where people are scolding Democrats for going on Hasan's stream now, but this is a platform that is going to be decisive in 2028. The online space, Hasan's, speaking truth to power, like calling out the genocide, calling out the neo-colonial apartheid state of Israel. This is becoming a bipartisan issue. I mean, we ran a poll in our district earlier this month, and for those who aren't aware, I'm running in sunny South Florida, one of the hotbeds of AIPAC candidates. I'm running against Jared Moskowitz. We've got Debbie Wasserman Schultz right next door. There's this perception that South Florida is uniquely different or uniquely less caring about sending U.S. taxpayer dollars to bomb children overseas and to perpetuate a genocide. We ran a poll, and by a 2-to-1 margin, people want to condition, reduce, or completely eliminate military aid to Israel relative to those who want to continue funding this genocide as Donald Trump drags us into war, as Israel invades Lebanon and creates 1 million refugees. And my perspective is we just have to be open and honest. We need to have a family conversation about AIPAC's influence in our democracy. AIPAC endorsed 109 insurrectionist Republicans after the 2021 attack on the Capitol. In that very next midterm, AIPAC doesn't care about democracy. AIPAC cares about what AIPAC cares about, which is the corporate interests, the billionaire class, and perpetuating this U.S. colony in the Middle East that is only able to exist with our taxpayer support while we're getting affordable housing divested from. When we've got $1 trillion in Medicaid cuts, they're asking for $200 billion for this war with Iran. Where do you think that money came from? It's coming from the $1.1 trillion in Medicaid cuts. Meanwhile, we can't have public transportation or affordable housing. So I was more than glad to go on Hasan's stream. This is, we need, as Democrats, we need to go into these spaces. As a democratic socialist, there's a lot about our campaign that is challenging assumptions about South Florida. But what I can tell you is that at the No Kings protest in Fort Lauderdale today, I was standing on the beach speaking to a few thousand people. And when I said South Florida deserves our Zoran Mamdani too, we deserve democratic socialism in our community too, because the working class is all across the country. The working class exists in blue districts, in purple districts like ours, and in red districts. And if we just speak to that, if we speak honestly and authentically about our experience as working people, I'm 33 years old. I never even ran for student council, but I'm doing this because our country needs to change. We need to change, and this Democratic Party needs to change. And so that's maybe putting a pin on it, but I would very much encourage any candidate that is curious about going into these spaces, do it, because this is a community, the online space, this is decisive in our elections now. This is where people intake information, they build community, they process information, they disseminate it. And if we're not engaging in these spaces, then Qasim's right. Democrats will continue to lose. We have to be honest, and we have to be bold and unafraid of the attacks of anti-Semitism when we know we're just standing up for human rights.
It's also just, it does remind me of Zoran's election, because right after Trump wins, all these Democratic strategists are like, we've got to win back the young men. How can we do that? And then here's this candidate who is, you know, phenomenally popular with young men, and they're like, no, not like that. And I mean, same thing, Hasan, you know, speak to a lot of young men who really look up to you, who could easily be, you know, if they got on the wrong algorithm and were swayed in a different direction, you could imagine them in, you know, a right wing on Nick Fuentes or whatever audience. So quite to the contrary of you being some raging anti-Semite, I would be hard pressed to think of someone who has done more to combat anti-Semitism than you, because you're always extraordinarily careful to say, I'm not talking about all Jewish people the way that Zionists want to, like Netanyahu, want to conflate all Jewish people with the genocidal actions of this, you know, apartheid state.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do my very best to such a degree that people sometimes even get annoyed. I mean, even Kyle was like saying, you have to do so much throat clearing every single time you talk about Israel. Like, we get it. It's just, unfortunately, the media environment that we're in. And I will say a big part of this is actually Islamophobia too. The idea that like any Muslim, no matter how white they are, like me, is automatically anti-Semitic. The suspicion that they're always, of course, going to be anti-Semitic is totally ridiculous. And we saw this with Zoran, not only just like my association being used or being weaponized against him in some way, even though it was a spectacular failure, obviously, but also tying Zoran back to like religious extremism, tying myself back to religious extremism. And we're now seeing that happen with Abdullah al-Sayed in his race in the Democratic primaries in Michigan. It's very cynical, but I think people are recognizing exactly what the issue is about. They just don't want to have a conversation around Israel, because you can't have a real conversation around Israel on moral terms. They've lost that argument. So they try to say anyone who speaks out against Israel is an anti-Semite. And in this circumstance, the Islamophobic associations, by claiming, you know, Abdullah al-Sayed, he's a Muslim guy. What does that mean for you? How does that make you feel? And what's really remarkable about that race is that this is the exact same issue that took place in the 2024 election. This was the exact same problem, that they chose not to associate with the Palestinian cause. They did not recognize that this wasn't simply some sort of ethnic or sectarian tension, that there were people of good conscience that came from every different background that understandably saw the horrifying violence that was unfolding on our timelines and wanted the Democrats to put an end to it, because they still had this notion that the Democrats actually do represent humanitarian values in the way that they claim that they do. And they lost that election because they didn't want that tent to be so wide that anti-Zionists could be a part of it. They wanted to expand that tent, as they always do, to the Liz Cheneys of the world, to Bill Clinton, to bring Bill Clinton and Richie Torres to Michigan only a month out from the general election. What a spectacular failure that was. So it's remarkable to see Haley Stevens, who's already an AIPAC stooge, obviously, but then also Mallory McMorrow now trying to like move into that lane in this like very not so subtle way by drawing a line in the sand.
What do you
on
think is the play
issue.
There? Is she trying?
I said this to you yesterday, Hasan,
Donations.
but I don't. Yeah, donate if you guys can to combat some of this money that's flooding in. But I think that was McMorrow auditioning for the Zionist money that Haley Stevens had previously been getting. So like,
or at least to
she doesn't
call it
want to
in
go after Abdul in an openly Islamophobic way. So like, we can go after Hasan because we can scare the boomer donors that may or may not be Zionists, but like they're rich. So more than, again, you know, wealthy donors and the Zionist project do overlap. But like, they're also basically saying like, hey, you know, this is an alternative to Abdullah al-Sayed, the scary Muslim guy that we don't want to have in office. I'm attacking Hasan. Look, you can trust me, you know, J Street or AIPAC.
And I'll add to that really important point about, because we just had the Illinois primaries here, and we saw the way they functioned. $22 million AIPAC spent in this primary, 22 million. The number of times they mentioned Israel, 0. The number of times they mentioned AIPAC, 0. They know that they are so toxic and disliked by everyone across the board that they actually set up 2 PACs, one called Elect Chicago Women, and then while slamming Kat Abu Ghazaleh as a progressive, Chicago Progressive Caucus, just a complete fabrication. And so when you see these dog whistles of attacking Hasan, it's actually I mean, Hasan said it perfectly. It is pure Islamophobia. And Mehdi Hasan just put out this really important point on his social media that, people like Booker and Slotkin and Gallagher talking about how they would never go on Hasan's show, but they've been on Maher's show, who drops the N-word like it's no problem at all. He's, had the most grotesque, compared all Muslims to ISIS, says, I don't want that desert culture here. But they have no problem going on his show. So it is a grotesque double standard. It is Islamophobia, and it's important that we lean in at this point. Instead of shying away, lean in, because they're already on their back foot. They're not even able or have the confidence to mention AIPAC or mention Israel, because they know that people are associating the Israeli government with genocide, rightly so. For us to back off now, I think would be a disservice, and it would enable them to win elections that they shouldn't win otherwise.
Do you guys worry about?
I mean, in what world does a Democrat ever allow themselves to take any NRA money or any kind of gun lobbyist money, right? Like, why is there some kind of exemption when it comes to not just AIPAC, but again, like this is a broader conversation now, right? It is the entire Israel lobby, and again, like, especially with this $200 billion ask, I especially in like rural America, even they're like, wait a minute, like, hold on a second, like. Number one, this don't make sense. Also, does this have something to do with Epstein? I mean, our folks, the amount of insulting of intelligence, but like what I'm also learning is they don't want to be educated. But what we can do as folks of the left is to just kind of help point out the direction, right? Like, yes, no, this is absolutely part of the Epstein class, that axis of Epstein, right? But it's also a 40-year project of a bunch of neocons and warmongers. And so I'm not saying that I'm going to draw a line for you because I'm not going to insult your intelligence, but I'm saying, like, if you look that way, like you see all this checks, right? And I think that this moment, the window's open.
Hasan, I know you need to get back to your 84 hours
Absolutely.
of streaming
I think
that you do.
We might be bumping up against the this segment. Crystal, are you there? I can't see.
Do you guys hear me?
Click on try again on your screens.
Again.
If you have an issue
I just
with
did it.
seeing Chris, yeah, it'll fix it. That's what I did.
You guys hear me?
All right. Well, I think
I can hear you, Crystal.
Okay, cool.
Oh, I cannot hear Crystal for some reason. I don't want to talk over her. So, Crystal.
Well, I just really quick, Hasan, before we let you go, one other thing that I've been wondering your thoughts on. I've actually heard some of your thoughts on, but Tucker Carlson, we see him out there doing some great interviews that are quite enjoyable to watch. At the same time, he's a Christian nationalist and has a worldview that is repugnant. So, what is your strategy for how to approach this man?
So that's a great question. I've been tracking Tucker Carlson's activities quite closely since 2016. I've often said he's one of the most dangerous propagandists because he has a very good way of making white nationalist talking points incredibly palatable. And even back in 2016, people used to associate the stuff that he was saying with like very prominent white supremacists and white nationalists, like the Great Replacement theory that he routinely brought in to mainstream conversations. And now that's actually become a mainstream fixture of the Republican Party. And as trend lines go, Democratic Party's main, talking point as well in the next 4 years or so, the way that they've been approaching things and following the Republican lead. Having said that, one of the things that I am very frustrated with Tucker Carlson is that he's a very skilled communicator. He's also fairly good at reading the room. Even though he's a propagandist, he's very good at reading the room. And he has recognized, and I don't know if he's genuine about this or not, but it doesn't really matter. He's recognized that this issue, Israel's genocide of the Palestinians, is one where he can lead, right? My fears is that for the time being, it's great. Maybe he's able to bring some Republicans to a more humane position on this issue alone, but that's not being reflected in the poll results, right? Republicans seemingly are operating like a cult. They don't really care. Tucker Carlson says he's against the war in Iran. Well, 100% of MAGA says they're for it. And overall, I believe, like 85% of Republicans are approving of this bombing campaign that's destabilized the entire world. So my frustration and fear is that if Democrats don't lead on this issue and lean into their base on this issue, because that's, like I said, a 90-10 issue where 90% are in support of decoupling from Israel and only 10% want more support for Israel. that Tucker Carlson is either going to utilize the existing leadership role that he's had in 2028 to prop up a candidate, maybe J.D. Vance potentially, or even run himself. And if the Democrats don't spend the next couple of years also leaning into their base and advocating for this issue, advocating for freedom for Palestinians, sovereignty and dignity for them, advocating to end these wars that we are waging this time directly because of Israel with Iran, they're going to lose. It's that simple. They're going to lose because Tucker Carlson will have had tremendous credibility on this side. And what are the Democrats doing? They're actively trying to attack me and perhaps maybe you guys as well eventually, that because we're unapologetic with our anti-Zionism, we're unapologetically anti-genocide, and they're so scared of facing their base that they don't even want to recognize that someone like myself, I'm just a megaphone. I'm just a platform for the masses. That's the reason why I'm popular, because I have the same frustrations that many Americans do, and I'm just simply able to communicate it to this audience. You're not going to be able to recreate something like this. You're not going to be able to make like a pro-DNC version of this, right? Not an independent media. Most people are going to recognize that this is like indecent, and they're going to want someone to reflect their values. We're seeing a version of that on the Republican side. Look at Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro was very popular. Ben Shapiro is funded by the same people, the same institutional donors that have funded the Republican Party. The Wilkes brothers, for example. And now look at Ben Shapiro's popularity. Because he's so demonstrably Israel first, that his audience perished. They left. They looked for alternatives that actually don't put Israel first in their conversations. And now he has no relevancy whatsoever. But what are the Democrats doing?
Yeah.
What is liberal media doing? What is Jake Tapper doing? These are people that will now try to elevate Ben Shapiro's platform. So they keep showing us over and over again that they would rather coalesce around people who are pro-Israel, even if they're reactionary in every other way, including on Israel, than to expand the tent to people that recognize that the moral center of the party within the base of support is on the side of the Palestinians.
Yep, it's absolutely right. Hasan, thank you so much for coming on, and all the other candidates here. You can, Oliver Larkin, Hartzell Gray, and Qasim Rashid, obviously all phenomenal anti-war voices. And I do want to say that we're about to hit 10K raise. So if people want to contribute, progress.win/rally is the place to go. Progress.win/rally. You can help contribute there. Thanks to all the phenomenal candidates, and of course, the #1 terrorist supporter in the country, Hasan Piker. I condemn you once again. Everybody leave me off your terrorist watch list. So see you later, buddy. All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you. Qasim.
Is there for you run out of fuel, come home, you've got to turn the whole thing around, service it. If you can stop at a gas station in the sky, plug in, gas and go, and then go on again, you can do 3 or 4 trips on one sortie, and therefore that's why they're called a force enabler. Now,
I have to skip this.
A significant escalation in a region already on high alert.
The Yemeni armed forces, with the help and the grace of God Almighty, has done its first military attacks with a barrage of ballistics against sensitive military targets in the south of occupied Palestine.
And with that attack, Yemen's Houthis entered the war, making this Israel's 3rd active front. The Israeli army says air defenses intercepted one before it reached Israeli territory. It comes as domestic tensions are emerging. Israeli military officials are pushing back against the government's strategy in southern Lebanon. More troops have been deployed to expand what it calls a buffer zone, pushing deeper into Lebanon. Media reports suggest the army's chief of staff is concerned by the continued exemption of ultra-Orthodox Israelis from conscription. In Israel, the Houthis' decision to join the battle is seen as a retaliation to strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities and an attempt to strengthen.
Westchester resident, I haven't seen any posts condemning Effie meeting with you. I'm sure it'll come eventually, but I'm not sure what the other chatters saw.
Iran's position in indirect talks with the US to end the war. It's also a message from the Yemeni group, an Iranian ally, to Washington. With exports through the Strait of Hormuz largely blocked, maritime traffic in the Red Sea could be next. The Bab el-Mandeb Strait, an important commercial shipping route, is also used by US carriers to reinforce its military presence in the region. The Houthis have disrupted shipping before, attacking vessels in the Red Sea during Israel's war on Gaza.
It's no secret that any escalation to prolong the war serves Israel's political and military goals. Prime Minister...
Are the ultra-Orthodox being exempt more like Mormons or Quakers in terms of numbers? It is the fastest growing and perhaps the only growing population center. Like the only growing demographic in Israel. And yes, they get religious exemption, and it's really funny. And it's a major point of contention in Israel. Major point of contention in Israel.
Benjamin Netanyahu has been careful not to defy the US president, but he has repeatedly stated that...
Yeah, I don't think that he's been careful of not doing that at all. I think he's been doing that. Let's be real, you know?
Israel would totally dismantle not just Iran's nuclear facilities, but its...
Mormons have no doctrinal belief in avoiding service? What the... Yeah, I don't know why. I think that chatter meant Amish or Quakers, maybe. Like, because I don't think Mormons refuse to serve in the military.
Ballistic program and even its military.
And these Israeli goals do not appear to be aligned with those of the US. A potential end of the war or even a ceasefire is concerning to many in Israel. And that's why Israel is expected to keep trying to jeopardize any diplomatic progress and push for further escalation. Nida Ibrahim, Al Jazeera, Ramallah, Palestine.
Jawad Abu Nasser back in the arms of his mother. Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip this. I don't want to watch this. It's too devastating. We've already covered this, but it's very interesting that Sky News and Channel 4 is now covering it as well. I've already covered it. I'm not going to cover it again, but I'm glad that Western media is picking this story up and covering it. It's an unbelievable and yet ongoing and fairly commonplace form of torture. I mean, it's just like expected from Israel. If there's one country that you would expect this from, it's definitely Israel. As a French communist, it's with a grain of salt that I realize that the only internationalism I witness is us watching the 3 Mondial capitals war take shape. Courage, camarades.
Rifles aimed directly at us. Israeli soldiers order us to the ground. Producer Abir Salman identified.
Mormons are highly sought after in the FBI and CIA. Yeah, they speak multiple languages usually. They travel the world. They're very disciplined. It's just, it makes sense. What is this? Apologies are not enough. There needs to be clear accountability. 99.9% of the time, there's zero accountability. I mean, Barack Ravid doing, I guess, consciousness PR here. The soldiers' conduct and statements in this incident do not represent the idea of go against what is expected. The idea of soldiers to be investigated in real time after receiving the report of the incident. We acted to resolve the issue ASAP. Q. Yeah, it's because it was on Western news, man. And by the way, what a big cue to everybody else that like this is the amount of power that Western media has, especially now because Israel's so weak, that they can whip up a real PR crisis. A worthy. This is about the CNN attack? Wait, well, oh, this is something different. This is not about the torture. This is, wait, what happened? Oh, it's about this. Oh, I thought it was about the baby torture. Oh my God. Oh, my mistake. They didn't actually apologize for the baby torture. It's this. Jeremy Diamond got attacked. His colleague got attacked, sorry.
Identifies us as journalists before translating the soldiers' commands.
Sit down.
So the soldiers just immediately came up and started pointing their weapons directly at us, telling everyone to sit down immediately. Obviously, we're not posing any threat here.
The commander comes straight for our camera, and within seconds... A soldier has just put photojournalist Cyril Theophilus in a chokehold, forcing him to the ground.
Yeah, I mixed up the human rights violations, a classic mistake. It's a classic mistake with Israel because they do so much so frequently with impunity. It's tough. It's tough to figure out exactly which human rights violation they're apologizing for. It's already a unique incident when they do apologize for it at all.
Don't touch him like that. Give me my phone. The soldier who assaulted Theophilus continues to demand he turn off his camera before another smacks my phone. We've come to the West Bank village of Taysir, where Israeli settlers have established an outpost considered illegal even under Israeli law. And yet here...
Dude, I mean, this is like... They've gone up the escalation ladder, right? Like they've hundreds of Palestinian journalists in the eyes of the Western world and even the Western press. It means nothing. They don't consider, like they're animals, right? And they don't even consider Palestinian journalists to be their colleagues, let alone human beings with lives. Okay, so now with all this impunity, with this lack of accountability, of course these dickheads are going to start going after brown-looking CNN journalists too. Obviously, they would have to apologize, right? This is CNN, not a small-time news arm. Man, Neekski, shut your bitch ass up, okay? Yes, they did apologize for it. And also, they should not do it to anybody. They reporters in South Lebanon and then said they're Hezbollah affiliate media. It's insane. Israel carried out a targeted strike on a vehicle in the southern town of Jezine. Ali Shoaib, correspondent for Al-Manar, one of the most prominent and widely followed reporters covering the South, and Fatima Fatouni, reporter for Al-Mayadeen, along with her brother photojournalist Mohammed Fatouni and Shoaib's son. Shoaib was widely regarded as the voice of southern Lebanon, with his reporting and telegram updates relied on real-time coverage of the war. Fatouni was prominent on-the-ground correspondent who just before the war confronted Lebanon's prime minister, warning that her family in the South was under constant threat. Relatives were just last month before she herself was in this strike. They also literally posted the video of them striking. They openly said that they were targeting them. Again, they don't care. They'll never stop. Why would they stop? Why would they stop? Who's going to stop them? If we're not going to stop them, why would they do it? Yeah, here's some IDF justification for why they kill 3 journalists. They don't even bother to explain the other 2. Al-Shoaib worked to incite against the Defense Army Forces and citizens of the State of Israel, using his platform as a means to disseminate propaganda materials for Hezbollah. And during Operation Roaring Lion as well, he continued his activity and reported on the locations of Defense Army Forces operating in southern Lebanon. Israel's openly admitting that they killed him for reporting. It is truly insane.
The soldiers stand idly by. Soldiers detain us too and walk us back to our vehicle. They say they're trying to establish order between settlers and Palestinians. But as the cameras keep rolling, it becomes clear these soldiers are here in service of the settler movement. Inlers took the land at the expense of 75-year-old Abdullah Daraghme. His breathing is labored, his face bloodied, bruised, and swollen, bones broken. His family and multiple eyewitnesses say the settlers stormed into his home in the middle of the night and beat him to a pulp. I didn't expect this, Abdullah's son says. This is not normal.
You had opportunities to distance yourself and your administration from arming Israel, which has committed what leading Holocaust scholars and human rights agencies call a genocide. You rejected them and continued arming Israel. This is your legacy. How do you justify to the countless Palestinians, including thousands of children that died, from your decisions? And just to share the point, I'm going to read off the names of children who died in Gaza due to the actions. So these are people who are 1 year old before they could take their first steps. Ayla, Ali, Obeid, Salahuddin, Abu Layla, Adam, Warshaga, 1 year old, Jowd, and it goes on, thousands and thousands of names. How do you reconcile with this, and how do you reconcile with your legacy?
So, as we were talking about before, this is something that I grappled with and will continue to grapple with.
Dude, what a victim, dude. What a victim. It's just really tough for him, dude. He grappled with it. It was tough decisions were made.
For as long as I can see into the future. Could we, should we have done things differently such that the suffering that people endured, the loss of the children that you just listed and so many others, could have been averted? And the short answer is maybe yes. You couldn't be, and I wouldn't be human if I didn't ask myself every day, could we have done things differently? The one thing I want to suggest to you as well, and I mentioned this earlier, is I believe, and look, maybe I'm wrong, that the nature of the trauma in Israel, which is, there's no hierarchy of trauma. The trauma in Israel, the trauma among Palestinians.
Oh my God, dude, what trauma in Israel? They feel bad about doing genocide? They don't even feel bad yet. They haven't even done it's bringing a tear to my eye that we killed so many children shit yet. What do you mean the trauma in Israel? What are these people talking about, man? This shit makes me so angry. Oh my God, he's doing but what about October 7 in 2026? Israel has done thousands of October 7s at this point. What the fuck are you talking about?
The same. The loss of a Palestinian life, the loss of an Israeli life, the same. But on the Israeli side, the trauma was such that I believe the determination across that society to take the actions that they took in Gaza was such that irrespective of what we did, they would have continued to do what they did. And cutting off arms, sure, that was an option, but I don't actually believe that, at least in the near term, it would have changed things, and I also believe it would have led to an even wider war as Israel's enemies, and they were multiple, jumped in, and that only would have extended the war in Gaza, not ended the war in Gaza. I fully, more than respect, I empathize with people who felt this so deeply. I do remain with a question in my mind about why barely a word was spoken in all those months about Hamas, which was an actor too, and is responsible for so much of what happened. But yes, we all look at it. I certainly look at it and say, maybe we could have done differently. Maybe we could have done better by the people. I wish we could have.
What do you mean as a state sponsor? How do you define terrorism?
Are we going to argue that Iran?
Oh yeah, Majority Report cooking. Majority Report cooking on CNN.
And is literally the number one.
Is Iran committing genocide in Gaza right now, like the Israeli government is, which dragged us into this war? Which every president prior.
Number one sponsor.
47 years, the Iranians have Americans and our allies across this world.
Okay.
They're trying to obtain nuclear weapons so they can annihilate Israel and potentially capitals in Europe.
There's no evidence of that. The JCPOA was actually a successful deal that
I
Obama
find
negotiated.
It appalling that you're an Iranian apologist.
Yeah, this is so. There's nothing I can do that call out Israel's genocide and then everybody swarms.
No.
This is one thing you can't say. It is about Gaza. This is about a regional conflict that's spiraling out of control that the president is
you stated that there's no evidence that Iran wants nuclear weapons. They lied.
There has been a religious edict that has said since 2003 that they should not be creating a nuclear weapon.
They lied to the United Nations. They lied to the international.
The Ayatollah, the older father, who was actually against building a nuclear weapon because he thought that it was going to contribute here.
I'm genuinely shocked that you are defending the Iranians. And I got to tell you, I hope that you tuck yourself in at night under that pillow
of lies. Also, I'm genuinely shocked that you're defending Iranians. Like, yeah. It turns out some people have a conscience, man. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? It's crazy. Like, the audacity of someone on CNN being like, how dare you? Like, the assumption that like everyone else is going to be on the same wavelength, you know?
Lies that you just told about the Iranians. That is absolute a crock of a word I can't say on national television.
So again, look. This is the beauty of American civility, right? The beauty of American civility. On the one hand, he can't say crock of shit on television, but on the other hand, he has no problems whatsoever just being like, yeah, Iranians deserve death. How dare you defend them? I've always loved that insane double standard, you know? Like, thank you so much. Thank you so much for not saying crock of shit.
It's fun.
Perhaps we should also have some restrictions on, I don't know, being a genocidal psychopath.
A government that an Israeli human rights group B'Tselem says is committing genocide, as is Amnesty International, as is every credible human rights group right now. We are there's a massacre in Gaza. There are hundreds of thousands of people unaccounted for under rubble. That's what I define as. Now, Iran is now exerting their leverage over the Strait of Hormuz.
Do you want the Iranians to have a nuclear weapon, yes or no?
Thousands of people that have died at the hands of Iran would disagree with your personal description of what it is. And I'm sorry, it doesn't meet the bill of
I mean, killing civilians is what I define it as a diplomat.
Some have called you China's Nostradamus. You had 3 famous predictions in 2024 that Trump would get elected, that he would start a war with Iran, and that he would lose a war with Iran.
Iran clearly has the strategic advantage. I think the next step...
Oh my God, is there a full one of this? I have to watch this shit. Professor Jiang? Ain't no fucking way, big dog. Professor Jiang with Mehdi? Mehdi coming after my goat? Hello? Hello? That's fucked up. Mehdi? You come at the king, you best not miss. Professor Jiang, my beloved. Seen a lot of naysayers in the chat. A lot of people who are calling into question the undisputed GOAT. Professor Jiang, some of you are not ready for it, it seems. Some of you are not ready for the truth, it seems. You know? It's fine, bro. One day you'll recognize. One day you'll learn. Professor 2016 Great Replacement, he's so funny. Everything he says is so funny. Full version here. Wait, it's only 4 minutes? What the fuck?
You had 3 famous predictions in 2024 that Trump would get elected, that he would start a war with Iran, and that he would lose a war with Iran.
Iran clearly has the strategic advantage. I think the next step in the escalation ladder is that Trump will send in ground forces.
Nikki Haley was key to your prediction about Iran. You said Trump would pick her as his running mate, but he didn't pick her.
I think that the problem with education is that it focuses too much on facts, too much on rigor, and not enough on imagination.
Too much on facts. Do you hear yourself? Does China control what you say now? Your critics might say they're using you as a propagandist.
It is possible I'm a useful idiot. And I suspect that there are many entities around the world who would like to amplify my message, including the Chinese government.
Hold on. You don't call yourself Professor Jiang on your YouTube channel?
I do now, but when I first started out, if you go way back to my early lectures...
It doesn't matter when you first started out. You do call yourself Professor Jiang and you're not a professor. What is your big prediction now for 2026? We'll see what happens.
Hater.
Test it out at the end of the year.
Bro, Mehdi's been a hating ass bitch, bro. Yo, what the hell? I'm actually very glad that someone with fucking... I mean, Mehdi is obviously very good at this stuff. But you know, he's also very smart. Glad that he's finally doing interviews with someone with a working brain. Professor Jiang, I mean. Bro, someone in the chat literally said, wait a minute, he's not a professor. Ain't no way. Ain't no way you thought he was an actual professor, bro. Open the schools. We're cooked.
Back in 2024, Chinese-Canadian educator Shui-Qin Jiang posted a video on his YouTube channel, Predictive History, where he laid out 3 big predictions. Donald Trump would win the 2024 election, the US would then go to war with Iran, and ultimately the US would lose that war. Since then, the self-styled professor who says he uses game theory to analyze the past and predict future geopolitical events has become an internet sensation and has even been dubbed China's Nostradamus. But he's also faced some criticisms over his predictions and, many would say, pretty out there conspiracy theories. 2 out of 3 of Jiang's big predictions have come true. But how much of that is his own geopolitical foresight and how much of it simply comes down to luck? How much does the Chinese government control or even influence what he says, what he predicts? I decided to not just speak to Shui-Qin Jiang, aka Professor Jiang, about Iran and the state of the world, but also to challenge him a bit. Here's our interview. Shui-Qin Jiang, thank you so much for joining me on Zeteo. You have said you use game theory to predict future geopolitical events.
Hating ass bitch. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, Mehdi, he cooked his ass. Mehdi is the worst person for an unstoppable force like Professor Jiang. Okay, literally could not have a worse person. If your goal is to do propaganda and or you know have an audience of easily fooled individuals. And talk to a person that's just like not going to call into question what you're up to. Definitely, you know, he was doing all these like sneako interviews and stuff. Like he was cooking, right? Mehdi is gonna obviously put belt the ass here.
You've never heard of game theory. Please do explain what it is and how it helps you explain what's happening with Donald Trump and with Iran in particular.
Right. So game theory applied to geopolitics means that we see each individual nation state as a player in a zero-sum game to maximize its individual interests. And so each player would have its own characteristics, its own strengths, and it would adopt a optimal strategy in order.
So how does that apply in the Middle East right now?
Right. So the United States is attacking Iran, and these two nation states have different strengths and weaknesses. So America has the world's greatest military. It has aerial supremacy. It has tremendous technology. It has unlimited funding. And so Iran is adopting...
Bro, I just realized he doesn't have his whiteboard. That's why he lost this battle. My goat didn't have his whiteboard. It's fucked up. Mehdi, put the whiteboard behind him. You got him on a handicap, man. That's fucked up. Y'all seeing this? Not my Professor Chung. Mehdi should put the full video on YouTube, honestly. It would do LeBron numbers. Instead of keeping it behind a paywall. He didn't lose. He predicted he would tactically lose the battle. He's a kinetic thinker.
asymmetrical strategy of holding the global economy hostage, meaning that rather than attacking the United States directly, which it cannot defeat directly, it is instead controlling the Strait of Hormuz, which is strangling the global economy, and it's attacking the GCC nations, the infrastructure of the GCC nations, in order to force Trump into the negotiating table.
I don't understand how this is game theory, by the way. Like, is that game theory?
So that is the asymmetrical warfare of Iran.
You've also predicted that the US, you had three famous predictions in 2024, that Trump would get elected, that he would start a war with Iran, and that he would lose a war with Iran. Based on what you've seen over the past month, do you still stand by that prediction?
Yes, I do. I think that after a month, I think that Iran clearly has the strategic advantage. And what I mean by that is that Iran is very clearly able to articulate its military objectives, and it has a very clear strategy of how to obtain these military objectives, and it is working very hard and very meticulously to obtain these objectives. This is the complete opposite of America, where Trump
Someone
has...
said, I predicted this too, and I'm not famous. Yeah, that's kind of the point. That's why it's like really funny that people were like, this is the most brilliant guy of all time. I guess, I mean, it is fair to say that if he predicted in 2024 that like Trump was going to win, which, you know, many people also predicted, and that he would go to war with Iran and then he would lose that war, that's pretty solid. I don't know if he predicted that through game theory, because I don't think he knows what game theory actually means. Kind of feels to me like he was just throwing, you know, throwing shit at the wall and this one stuck. But everything that he's talking about past that point, is just like pretty basic stuff.
Fail to articulate an end goal, and that the administration, the Trump administration, is unable to articulate both a strategy and a purpose to the American public, which is causing most Americans to not support this war. It's also causing low soldier morale among the American forces.
What do you think happens next if/when Iran wins?
Damn, Mehdi gave us a taste, bro. He gives us a fucking taste. Mehdi, get that off the paywall, man. The people need to predict.
In the escalation ladder is that Trump will send in ground forces.
Nikki Haley was key to your prediction about Iran. You said Trump would pick her as his running mate, but he didn't pick her.
I think that the problem with education is that it focuses too much on facts, too much on rigor, and not enough.
The problem with education focuses too much on facts is a bar. Y'all are literally not spiritually or physically ready. Y'all could not predict that history, man. Average young listener, I've got more than lots of evidence to back this up, is you who's falled for propaganda. Or you could be CIA Mossad agent for what I know. Now wake the fuck up, do your research. It's a good time to do it. I will say more to you. This Professor Zhang does not say. These people from secret societies are not those in real power. They all serve alien entities who truly control this world. It's so funny. I think it's a testament to how much Chinese soft power has developed around the world without China literally doing much for it, to be fair. That like you can have a random Chinese guy and so many is fucking brilliant, dude. Like zero qualifications. He's got a whiteboard and he's Chinese. And motherfuckers are like, well, this guy has ancient wisdom. I love it. Respect. Professor Zhang, my beloved.
On facts, do you hear yourself? You talk about this pretty far-right concept of Pax Judaica, a new world order centered around Israel. Surely you understand why a lot of people think at best you're trafficking in pretty anti-Semitic tropes, and at worst, you're...
Bro, he didn't even talk about my favorite, Pax Islamica.
You're a card-carrying anti-Semite.
Sorry, what is wrong with the term Pax Judaica?
You tell me. Does China control what you say now? Your critics might say they're using you as a propagandist.
It is possible I'm a useful idiot. And I suspect that there are many entities around the world who would like to amplify my message, including the Chinese government.
Hold on. You don't call yourself Professor Jiang on your YouTube channel?
I do now, but when I first started out, if you go way back to my early lectures...
It doesn't matter when you first started out. You do call yourself Professor Jiang and you're not a professor. What is your big prediction now for 2026? We'll see what happens. We can test it out at the end of the year.
I think if you or I were playing Iran's hand, we would not want to end the war.
Wait. It's not, first of all, I'm sorry to show you someone who's fraudulent, utterly devoid of the pedigree, and perhaps even more devastating, the whiteboard. This is fake, phony, Professor Not Jiang, okay? As I like to call every other professor. This is another Professor Not Jiang. It's Mersheimer.
The longer the war goes on, the worse it is for the United States and for Israel. So if you're the Iranians facing an existential threat, you're now in a war and you're doing very well in that war. You're inflicting great pain on the international economy, which is another way of saying you're inflicting great pain on the United States. You're destroying American military bases in the region. You're inflicting pain not only on the Gulf states themselves, but on Israel as well. Why would you quit? Why not just keep going? Inflict more and more pain. Make the Americans and the Israelis increasingly desperate. That would be the smart thing to do, I think, if you're playing Iran's hand. It's not in our interest for sure, certainly not in President Trump's interest, but from their point of view, given all the leverage they now have and the fact that they get more leverage I wouldn't quit if I were them.
The No Kings demonstration taking over Midtown Manhattan, some people told us why they're here today.
There's a lot of animosity towards this administration, and I think people feel a little rudderless. So events like this bring a coalition of people that have maybe some shared resentment, but also key issues that they care about.
I'm here because I can't express how much I hate Donald Trump, and I think that he's just ruining our country.
Demonization of internal enemies, glorification of violence and cruelty, appeals to a mythical past and racial superiority, intolerance of dissent, and unquestioned allegiance to the leader.
Who are you talking about?
Let me think. Our president.
I've studied history. We've never had a leader that was so indifferent and so immoral to the concerns of the average person.
We have to show out, as we're doing today, in record numbers to say, this is not okay with us.
And I think a lot of people are just really angry. I mean, they're angry at the economy. They're angry at the Epstein file cover-up. They're angry that we're at war right now and Donald Trump is golfing. It's a betrayal of the American people.
This is not a war. This is not an award. Oh my God, I absolutely support the President of the United States of America.
I'm at CPAC in Dallas. It's the biggest conservative conference in...
Fucking finally, dude. Some real goddamn American patriots, bro. Hell yeah. I saw Harry Hasan over there. I almost lost my mind, you know? How dare you show me Harry Hasan? I need to see 10 patriots. We haven't even done enough CPAC shit because, like, bro, CPAC this year has been less motion than even the years prior. Trump didn't even attend it. No Tucker Carlson. None of the major MAGA heads. Just pure freak show. Like, it's literally the Michael Pillow coalition.
Country, and lots of people here are talking about the war in Iran. Trump is not speaking at this event this year, but in the past, when he has spoken here, he's talked a lot about not starting new wars. When it comes to Iran, how do you feel about that?
I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all. I mean, President Trump ran on no new wars. I feel like we've been opted into a war that shouldn't be ours. It should be Israel's.
We want to say, Mr. President, thank you. Thank you for helping Iranian people.
What do you think of the war with Iran at the moment?
Unfortunately, I think it's necessary.
You do?
Yes, and he's the only president that had the
the backbone to take it on.
Do you believe that Israel forced the U.S. into this war?
Absolutely not.
Bro, Brace was saying that every corner there is a Persian yelling about Mr. President Trump. Thank you. Literally in every fucking corner of CPAC, it was just like occupied. It was POG, Persian occupied government.
Donald Trump does what Donald Trump wants to do.
I don't think Trump is really controlled by anybody, as much as everyone would like to control him. But I do question some of the things when it comes to, are we just going to bend over everything for Israel, you know?
What do you say to some Republican people who say, well, this is Israel's war, it shouldn't be America's war?
Dude, by the way, I low-key get why Israel doesn't give a fuck about anti-Semites. And not even on some like, oh, it scares Jewish people into like moving to Israel. Like, they are like right-wing anti-Semites who claim to be anti-Israel are such fucking cattle that like you hear the guy, like in his voice, he wants to say like Jews controlled this country. Why would you do this to me, Mr. President? That's his mentality, but he can't even fucking identify it and like communicate it, right? Because he's a victim. Like these guys can't even do anti-Israel, like they can't even do anti-Semitism right. Okay, joking, but like kind of true, you know? So yeah, when you look at that dynamic and you're like, well, we shouldn't really focus too much on like right-wing anti-Semitism because at the end of the day, they're still going to vote for Trump. Whereas on the left, if your primary focus is Israel, there's a fuck ton of real anger there.
That's not so. Israel is God's people. Those that bless Israel will be blessed. Those that curse Israel, they better watch out.
Do you feel disappointed in the president?
Sure.
Do you still support him?
I want him to succeed. I certainly do. I think it's to be determined on, if I can remain to support him. We'll see how the next 6 months go, and we'll see what happens.
Are you concerned?
The answer is yes, bro. What are you going to do? There is nothing more fake than a Trump hog being like, I don't know. We'll see. Like, shut up, bitch. You're going to vote for him. You're going to write his name in on elections in the future where his name is not even on the fucking ballot. Shut up. Bro's acting like we don't know what his behavior is. Nothing funnier to me than a coping hog who's just like, well, I don't know. Okay, buddy. Sure. Trump could literally shit on your chest. Trump could make you eat his dookie. And you still love his ass. Fuck out of here with this shit. Don't know if I can vote for him again. Right. What? Am I crazy for saying that? Everyone's like, huh? That's the level of worship that these people have.
And that this war drags on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We hear the phrase America first. Let's put America first. And I'm concerned that this isn't putting America first.
Is the United States waging a holy war in Iran?
This is a battle of good versus evil.
God is just exposing everything. I believe we are living in the end times.
Those are the views of some conservative Christians here in Oklahoma, one of America's reddest states. That message is being amplified at the highest level by Donald Trump's defense secretary.
God bless our troops and this mission.
It's causing alarm among those who worry about the growing influence of Christian nationalism on U.S. policy.
I don't think the lines have been blurred. I think they've been stomped on.
People are being told that they need to go risk their lives in order to accelerate Armageddon.
Conservative Christians have access to this White House like never before. A president who regularly hosts evangelical leaders and a defense secretary who embraces a combative brand of Christianity.
Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle.
Pete Hegseth is now invoking divine purpose to justify American military might in Iran.
Dear gracious God, I need you.
A conflict which some view as a holy war. Is it spotlighting increasingly blurred lines between church and state?
Give me wisdom, I pray.
Pastor Jackson Lawmeyer!
In Tulsa, Oklahoma, the man who founded the organization Pastors for Trump is announcing his run for public office from the pulpit where he preaches.
That Sharia law never takes root in this nation ever.
Jackson Laymeyer supports the war and has spoken the gospel will penetrate a free Iran. It's a message which resonates with his congregation.
I do believe it is almost an Armageddon, and that the fact that we do have to stand up for what's right and what we believe in, and they are some awful people over there.
How do you square off the loss of innocent lives?
You're a much better person, surely. You know what's really funny? These people unironically were like, well, they're a religious theocracy, like they're so backwards. Buddy, look around, you know? Like these people, without even a fucking moment of irony, will turn around and be like, well, they're a backwards country. They're run Islamic style. You know what I mean? We can't have that. We can't have that Islamic style government. They must learn the gospel.
It's perfectly fine. As someone whose dad serves in the military, I can tell you that it's just a cost. And unfortunately, it's the sad reality, but they did the right thing. They stood up and they fought for their country, and we can honor that. And I know that they're sitting with the good Lord right now. And in his...
Wait, is he talking about the Iranians? Because no American soldier that has died in the last month has died serving, like, they haven't died defending their country. They died defending Israel. Hate to do this to you, buddy, but you're wrong.
Great graces.
You should support Israel because God loves Israel. Israel is the apple of his eye, and that is in the Bible.
Is it a religious war?
Most definitely. Most definitely. Yes. God is just like exposing everything, using Trump, using other people in this time to expose the evil.
You believe Donald Trump is a conduit for God?
100% we do.
First times that Eric was here at the church. This is me and the president years ago.
In his office, Pastor Laymeyer displays pictures with various members of the Trump family who have appeared at the church.
Bro, they're so stupid. It is truly mind-boggling how dumb these people are. Like, they're in the wealthiest country on the planet. They got internet everywhere. They have access to so much information, but they have a medieval peasant-style understanding of the world. How the fuck does that happen? Like, we are in a post-monarchy world, right? How do you behave like this? And for who? The Trump children? It is remarkable that there is this much of a cult, like, understanding for anything. Like, I mean it. Like, in this day and age, in the information age, it is quite remarkable that people can be this delusional and people can be this much in a cult. Fascinating.
Do you see this war in religious terms?
Well, obviously, to the Ayatollah, it was definitely religious terms. It's jihad. It is to bring about the apocalypse to usher in their Messiah.
You've spoken about the gospel penetrating a free Iran.
What
does that mean?
Well, that's not the job of the United States government. That's the job of pastors and preachers and evangelists. And so a free Iran would open the door for ministries and preachers to go in and share the gospel.
At a different church on the other side of Tulsa, an opposing viewpoint.
Come on in.
Reverend Andy Campbell believes the Trump administration is weaponizing Christianity to sell this war to the public.
If I go to war and I claim that God is on my side, if you oppose me, then evidently I must be godless.
Gay. Sorry. How many photos with Eric Trump do you have, buddy? Yeah, I said it. I need to see the photo wall, man.
And I think that's the point of it.
So do you think Pete Hegseth is playing on that then?
Oh, absolutely. He wants to take people that he perceives as enemies and make them less than human.
They smoked me all the way.
Defense Secretary Hegseth is provoking controversy with his rhetoric and his tattoos. He has a large Jerusalem cross which dates back to the Christian Crusades and a Deus Vult tattoo, Latin for God wills it, often used by far-right groups.
One of God's mightiest men, our Secretary of War, the Honorable Pete Hegseth.
Hegseth has pushed policy changes that reflect his personal views. This is a new Christian worship service for employees at the Pentagon.
You are here, working in...
I'd kill myself. Come on. It'll never not be funny. He's literally a alcoholic rapist. There's always these, like, super pro-God guys Like, we get it, bro. You killed people. Okay, I got it. Like, I understand. Like, just cut it. Just cut it out. Just cut it out. Let's just not do this. You know what I mean? I think it's better for everybody involved if, like, the alcoholic rapist guys don't just, like, pivot to God mode this way. Because they're so fucking annoying every time, dude. There is that very obvious recognition, this underlying recognition, by the way, that, like, sorry, if you're one of those guys, you're kind of the dumbest guy around. That even someone like Pete Hegseth could just, like, manipulate you. Or someone like fucking, what's his face? The British one, the British freak that looked like Russell Brand, the one that looked like a rapist before we found out he actually was one, you know? Don't worry, Christians. Muslims got this version too. Andrew Tate. Like, literally. And I'll be honest, he didn't even try that hard. And the Ummah was on fire. They could not believe it. Muslims love a white boy that reversed to Islam. It don't take much. Just say the Shahada and they will lose their fucking minds. Every WhatsApp group is going to be on fire. Sorry, I shouldn't have said white. Western. He's 0% white. Okay. First of all, that's not true. He's half white. And secondly, I mean, I don't know why you got so aggressive about it. Like, you're almost like, okay, defender of the white race. I'm like, chill. Okay, you didn't, what? Us whites don't take ownership over Andrew? Is that what you're saying? Like, there aren't enough other, like, rapist criminals that are white?
And some are alleging an increase in Christian extremism in the armed forces. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation says it's received more than 200 complaints from members of the military about commanders invoking biblical rhetoric to justify involvement in the war in Iran.
Some of the more egregious examples here, this one from an active duty military member who alleges that their commander urged them to tell our troops that the war, is all part of God's divine plan. Apparently, they referenced citations out of the book of Revelation and the imminent return of Jesus Christ.
Awesome.
Another military member says this poster of Jesus.
What the hell? Oh my God. Oh my God. Jesus Christ with the artillery launcher? Respect. That's real, man. I see that and I think tough. That's my Jesus. Nah, that's my Jesus, bro. Chill. Jesus, famously known for deploying mortars.
Firing a mortar round was displayed in their battalion headquarters. This congressman is calling for the allegations to be investigated by the Department of Defense.
These biblical prophecies are being offered up to justify the war. People are being told that they need to go risk their lives in order to accelerate Armageddon and live out these extreme interpretations of Scripture. The Secretary of Defense is making a concerted effort to God-wash this terrible war.
Glad you guys were here tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Y'all be blessed.
As this pastor begins his campaign for Congress, he insists there is a place for Christianity in politics. But some believe the war in Iran is exposing an erosion of the separation between church and state. Martha Kellner, Sky News, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
If you lose what's important.
Yeah, only recently. We are such a freak-ass country. Yeah, Jesus demands we have 10-year-olds to stabilize oil. I mean, we 10-year-olds so hard that we can't even stabilize oil. Like, oil was stable. And then we 10-year-olds, and now oil is unstable. And now our goal is to just go back to day one. You know, before we Ayatollah, before we all those little schoolgirls. I have a good idea. It's called Don't Around. Why did you do that to begin with? And now we did it because we're like, we have to do it. Israel demands it. We had to do it. Now we did it. And now we're trying to this situation.
Then we're going to lose the country. Fight on.
Former Trump strategist Steve Bannon addressed CPAC on Friday. It's the annual gathering of conservatives. And we wanted to know, do conservatives who had so many concerns about the Epstein file have any reservations about Bannon, whose close personal friendship with Epstein was revealed by DOJ documents? Turns out many of them didn't.
A lot of people had friendships with Jeffrey Epstein, and I think
no one's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein comes close to, like, well, there's some, like Donald Trump, ironically enough. But I guess, like, from their perspective, they already love Donald Trump and don't give a shit that Donald Trump was all up Jeffrey Epstein's asshole. So why should they care? You know, they're like, okay, go ahead. Tell me another guy that I like that was having with Jeffrey Epstein. I like it.
A lot of people are a little crazy about it all. I mean, I think nobody really knows what the extent of those relationships were. I mean, he was wheeling and dealing with lots of people all over the world, and I think
a lot of people had close relationships with Jeffrey Epstein, brother, in 2019. Yeah, maybe she knows a lot of children. Have you thought about that?
unless you know, you don't know. So I'm not one to jump to conclusions on anybody.
What do you make of him?
Yeah, they're throwing their hands up and like, I guess people aren't just allowed to have friends anymore. Wow. I guess people are not allowed to go to a tropical island and hang out with their buddies. Oh, I'm sorry. You can't have shared interests with friends. And then it's like, okay, what's the shared interest? Oh, having with children and trafficking them internationally. That's not, you can't do that, actually. It turns out that's super illegal. And as a matter of fact, that guy went to jail for it, you know? Yeah, you can't, God forbid, a man have hobbies your way out of this one. Well, I guess they are. Doesn't matter. It's illegal to be friends with Jews now, is it? Yeah. I mean, that's like low-key. The ADL was like, hey, guys, stop calling it the Epstein Fury War because that's actually very anti-Semitic. We are the premier anti-Semitism institution. And we would like to say Jeffrey Epstein is Jewish. We would like to remind everyone that Jeffrey Epstein is Jewish, and we are associating ourselves with Jeffrey Epstein on the virtues of Judaism. So please don't say anything about that. Insane. Never seen anything like it. Unbelievable. What's next, bro? You gonna do a Harvey Weinstein bit too? Much like Jeffrey Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, please do not forget this. It's like, okay, what are you, Nick Fuentes? The ADL is literally doing Nick Fuentes shit. That is unironically what Nick Fuentes does. Yeah. Breaking: Israeli shelling targeted a police checkpoint south of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza Strip. 6 police officers are wounding others, according to local reports. What the? Oh, God. I miss Professor Jiang. It's been an hour and a half since I last saw his face. I miss him.
Being here and invited to speak at CPAC, given how prominently his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was unearthed by the Epstein files.
I did not know that. You're telling me the first time. I've done my fair share of research, but I do.
He did the Trump. I did not know that. You're telling me for the first time. Ruth Bader Ginsburg has died.
I find that a little interesting and weird that he's able to speak here, being in the Epstein files.
I think he added a lot to the Republican and conservative.
Posted by an interview with Elfie. Westchester County Democratic Committee. Joint statement from New York CD7 chairs condemning Hasan Parker's hateful rhetoric for the chairs of the Westchester County Democratic Committee. Oh my God, 9/11/2 is going to be so sick. Give Saudi Arabia nukes so they can do 9/11/2. I don't have any patriotism. Wait, these are just straight up Fox quotes. Are they so? They're ripped. These are just ripped from Fox News headlines. What the? Oh my God, 9/11/2 is going to be so sick. Give Saudi Arabia nukes so they can do 9/11/2. Yeah, like, I'm being sarcastic. Because Donald Trump wanted to give nukes to Saudi Arabia, you idiots. That's so funny that they literally took that as though it's like sincere. You can read the tone. Like, no one has ever said that sincerely. Okay? Unless you're like a Posadist or something. I don't have any patriotism in my heart for America. Yeah, I said I don't have any patriotism in my heart for any country. Repeatedly referred to the Jews as inbred. It doesn't matter if effing happened on October 7th. It doesn't change the dynamic for me. Yeah, genocide is not acceptable. Stating that would be a little bit better. What? For men to rape wealthy women? Oh, God. These guys are so insane. Declaring that his favorite flag is the Hezbollah flag. Referring to Jewish critics as Zionist pigs. Pikers also praised U.S. designated organizations Hezbollah and Hamas. Pikers also praised U.S. designated Hezbollah is responsible for the deaths of 241 American servicemen. That's a big AIPAC county. That's where George Latimer is from, who challenged Bowman. It's fast. Zoomers clearly read as unserious as you memes. You're mad Saudis following the doctrine. I mean, they did 9/11 once. Theo Vaughn on Israel. No, you read as you want in white/albino supremacy. Yeah, these people are insane. Westchester's where the cops live. They put you as a top story over every other news story. Why some Democrats want to shut off Hasan Piker's megaphone. Popular streamers rise as Democratic influence coincides with the party's long surge. I'm so cooked. Do you think the Saudis or Iranians are Chiang enjoyers? Yeah, I think the Iranians are. That's why they're doing it. That's why that's why Iran decided to fight back, because they saw the Professor Xiang. First they were like, yeah, I never said Jewish pig, by the way. They're just lying, but it doesn't. It's all lies. Who gives a shit? Whatever. But what I was going to say is the Iranians, okay, this is serious. This is serious analysis, okay? It's predictive history time. So the Iranians watched the Professor Zhang video, right? Because that's their favorite thinker, right? They see him, they love the whiteboard. They're like, Professor Zhang, I am your favorite. You are my favorite, Professor. Okay? So then they're watching, and Zhang's like, okay, Donald Trump is going to become president, okay? And they're like, uh-huh. And then Donald Trump's going to wage war with Iran. They're like, oh, no, not Professor Zhang, why you say this? And then he says, okay, and Iran's going to win the war. And they're like, okay. And at first, they're like maybe a little skeptical. They're thinking, nah, like, it's probably not real. But then Donald Trump becomes president. They're like, oh, my God, he became president. Professor Zhang was right. That's why they fought back, because they knew they would win, because they're committed believers of Professor Zhang, as am I. Yeah. That's why they were just kind of existing around American bases and so close in proximity to the state of Israel, which is the reason why the war started. Why do you move your country so close to my bases? We're going to have to use them at some point, you know? Does Zhang actually have motion around? I don't know, man. Why would I have an answer to that? Also, Trump had a weird take on here too. Let's listen to this.
Been able to see or hear from any of the Iranian people. And I imagine that is because they're...
Also, if someone found out the videos of his lectures are literally just him talking to Chinese students learning English, the wildest way to learn a language. I love that. Third way is mocking other people's view counts. I mean, they had 30,000 people watching when I tuned in. What are you complaining about? How many viewers do you have? Your third way. Oh my God, they have a channel. The Red Zone, Making Your Case in Magaland, 109 views. Take 5, Faith by Robert Rabin, 45 views. Affordability, Buzzword or Breakthrough, 66 views. Ain't no way, man. Ain't no way. Oh, it's so funny that they brought up the view count when they got no views whatsoever. I have more views on my Rainbow Six Siege videos, Lamau.
Internet is shut down. And I think there is some general worry about them. Obviously, their government treats them terribly, and tens of thousands of them in January. Do you, again, like Kayleigh, I would never ask you to tell us something that is classified, but do you have any insight as to how they are doing? Do they have drinking water? Do they have food?
Right, I do.
It's upsetting.
I do. But first, you remember when we had lunch years ago in the base of Trump Tower when it was a brand new building?
It's a long time ago, yes.
A long time ago, and you haven't changed.
Oh.
You have not changed. Now, I'm not allowed to say this. It's the end of my political career, but you may be even better looking, okay? So I don't know what you're doing.
Been able to see or hear from any of the Iranian people. And I imagine that is because...
Incredible work, man.
Oh.
He's horny this morning. Only the media gives these guys relevance by boosting their quotes about you, I guess. It's because they have money. Third way, yeah. Yeah, they don't have a real base. They just have money. But that's all that matters. What do you mean? They have incredibly wealthy donors. Disturbing how horny he's been lately.
Thank everybody very much. And I'm asked to take a few questions. And unlike other politicians, they would like the questions screened. I don't ask for screening of the questions. You can ask me anything you want. You can talk. You can, whatever the hell you want. I'm here for you.
Someone clapped. People clapped for that. I would never want to hear Donald Trump talk about. That's the last thing I want to hear him talk about. Yo, what is going on with my boy, dude? Donnie, is everything good, King? Why is he so horny? It's like, it's gross to see. It's gross to see the president horny to begin with, including Bill Clinton. But it's also very strange to see this president be horny. What's happening? Laura hasn't been topping me off. Laura Loomer, she's been in India. So I've been so pent up. So pent up. You won't believe it. Hard as a diamond. All the time. Laura Loomer, my free spirit, come back to me. Come back to me, Laura.
Thank everybody very much.
They got him on some new meds? Yeah, you think they give him Viagra? You think that's what it is? Hasan Piker talks about Donald Trump's being hard as a diamond. Third Way releases statement condemning Hasan Piker, saying Donald Trump has never been hard. He's actually very soft.
Party for the last 6 years or whatever. But I also believe that Bill Clinton was probably as close as Steve Bannon was to Epstein.
Clinton has denied any wrongdoing and mentioned the Epstein files is not indicative of wrongdoing. CNN reached out to Bannon but has not heard back, though he told the New York Times his relationship to Epstein was, quote, strictly professional.
As opposed to what? Having with him? We only one time, dude. We're friends. I mean, it's strictly professional. It's just like, I didn't even enjoy it. Now I'm getting horny like Donald Trump. I'm not horny, but, you know, I'm saying horny shit.
2028. Who do you prefer in the Republican primary? J.D. Vance at 53%, Marco Rubio at 35%. But by the way, the interesting part about that is everybody else is about 2% or less.
Yep. And look, I think that CPAC has a strong tradition of letting these folks come here, make their pitch. That'll happen at all the events we have around America over the coming year.
Mash Lab's a rapist, by the way.
Here, it's going to be a great conversation about how do we keep all of...
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here and to be able to speak to you guys today. And I'm not here to speak on behalf of Republicans nor Democrats. I'm here to speak on behalf of we the people.
Hell yeah. They got Nick Shitley. Oh my God. First time the crowd is actually listening to someone that they can fully grasp, like fully understand. No more adult words. Just stick to basics, you know? Oh, dude. He went for 10 minutes. A real intelligent. House members are dropping off the highest rate since the 30s. So far, 61 House members have decided not to run again, including 39 Republicans and 22 Democrats. The GOP exodus is the largest since the 1930s. Other than in Trump's first midterm of the year 2018, the GOP lost 40 seats that year. But this is ableist making him speak like this? Yeah.
I think nowadays we can all agree that we all just want to live the American dream and have the best life possible. However, it feels that sometimes, actually a lot of times, non-controversial issues are becoming controversial inside of America. For instance, if you take a look at the idea of deporting illegal migrants, that word is illegal. That should not be controversial. Or the idea that showing your ID to vote has become controversial.
What? That doesn't become controversial. That was a very contentious debate for years. And it's also not like, it's not a thing that exists everywhere. Only because Americans don't have like a unifying identity card or something like that. Like they don't have, like in other countries, everybody gets an ID, okay? Everybody gets an ID at birth. You get a driver's license on top of that if you get a driver's license to drive a car. But in most countries, you get a piece of paper that's your identity, okay? Like a federal ID. We don't have that. And that's why you can't have voter ID laws. In the absence of everybody having an ID for free, you can't really do voter ID laws.
That's not controversial either. The idea that fraud is bad has become controversial. How is that controversial? I know a little bit about fraud. I know a little bit about Minnesota daycares as well. And it's crazy to think that we live in...
I think it's really funny to like have to sit there. You're like a big booster of the Republican Party. You went to like Yale Law School, right? And you have to like, just like sit there and have to listen to this fucking idiot. And he's the closing speaker on the first day of CPAC. Like this is the mega celebrity that they brought in. And you're just like, how do you not realize your movement is so dead? Like this country is dead. You look around that room to your left and your right, and you see all these fucking mouth-breathing hogs go, yeah, that's my Nick Shirley. I watched this video. Like we're done, dude. We're done. We are done. Every other country is going to lap us on education. They already have. They're lapping us on quality of life in general. Everything fucking sucks. At least you made your money, but this is an outright hostile country, an uninhabitable country to live in. It's not a good country to live in at all anymore. You fucking ruined it. That's why I always say Republicans are the biggest terrorists. Because you are a fraud shit boy. Tony Two Cuts.
A world where somebody who exposes fraud can then be painted as the bad man from the politicians where he exposed the fraud. Shouldn't they be excited to know that the fraud is being exposed, because that's not a Republican dollar or a Democrat dollar, it's actually our dollars. I've never gotten a dollar bill that says right or red or blue or right or left. We all...
You don't... What can I say? What can I say to this? Like, you don't feel embarrassed? You don't feel bad about it at all? You don't think to yourself, like, this is my movement? What the fuck have I done to this country? This isn't a moment of recognition for you when you hear this shit? When you hear this fucking absolute Babylon, and you don't realize that there's something so horrifying about the future of this country and your movement?
Live inside of the same country, and we should all want the best for our country. And when
there's so many rungs down on the ladder of advanced political discourse that we cannot even compare how to engage with it. I mean, he's like a child. He has the brain of a slow child, like not even like a particularly intelligent child, a very stupid child.
You see it, fraud inside of our country taking place at literally rampant levels. For instance, in Minnesota, there were programs like autism where you have 10,000% increases in the budget for autism. And this money then goes into the hands of fraudsters. How does somebody not look at that and say, there's a 10,000% increase in the budget for autism? Is there a 10,000% increase in autistic children inside of our neighborhoods? And if the answer is no, how are they justifying a 10,000%?
I thought it was Tylenol, man. What the fuck? I was lied to. It turns out it's not. I thought it was the Tylenol.
% increase in the budget. And in other instances like California, where you have 1,000% increase in hospices. Is everyone going to die in LA? I don't think so. So the idea that here inside the United States, when we have these non-controversial issues that have become controversial, it puts us into a weird culture war where it puts people into a position to think, okay, well, wait, how are you supporting this when you're actually not benefiting we the people? We all live inside of the United States. We're not supposed to be, when elected officials elected, they're not supposed to represent 50% of the population. They're supposed to represent 100% of the population. In an instance where fraud is taking place inside our country, each and every single person should want to crack down on that fraud. Because if we don't...
Oh my God, it's so weird. Wild moment, a CPAC audience member falls asleep as hundreds of seats left empty. The conference had hundreds of empty seats as the audience seemed in a sleepy mood as the crowd cheered for impeachment hearings. An awkward moment. What the fuck? Hasan, are we cooked? Yeah, I don't want to watch the rest of this. Let's get it. Thank you for the 50 bones, brother. Yeah, I can't do that. That's really bad, man. That's unbelievable. I can't watch that.
For you guys to think about is, who are the critics? Who are those people that are saying that you're the bad person or that what you're doing is not right? Well, a lot of times it's the media. A lot of the times it's that person who listens to the media where they've lost that idea of common sense thinking. And so nowadays, the most important thing I feel like for any of us to do is to think, okay, is the cause I'm fighting for, is it a controversial issue? Or is it actually non-controversial, but it's an issue that has become controversial from the critics? And we cannot ever pander to the critics, and we have to keep pursuing a worthy cause. Because what we're fighting for is worthy. America is the greatest country in the world.
Conservatives all get all on Pasevi. Thank you for the 100 gifted subs. What the hell is going on, man? What the heliante is late in the night? Is 9 p.m. here? Is 6 p.m. in Los Angeles. And we got big Oilers in the building. Busting down the doors. New Oilers. New names no one's ever heard before. It's crazy. Why are we watching AIPAC? I don't even know what that means. Conservatives get all bent, out of shape about an illegal alien drywaller landscaper freeloading off Americans. Meanwhile, a Nepo baby and his expat entourage can show up at CPAC and demand American kids go die halfway around the world to put him in power. Oh, Reza Pahlavi. Wow, that was I guess the entirety of CPAC was geared towards the sexual dynamo, Reza Pahlavi. Indiana Spud, thank you for 10 gifted.
This wide range of very, very eclectic interests, music, Broadway shows, pro wrestling, football, every sport, golf, and business and Wall Street. He knows how everybody made their money and what deals they made. And he tells stories all the time about it. It's just one after the other. And one time during the campaign, I was on the airplane with him, and we were sitting across the table from each other, eating McDonald's, drinking Diet Coke. And we started talking about Syria, and he got a placemat, and he turned it on its back, and then he took a Sharpie, and he drew a perfect map of the Mideast. And then he put the troop strength of every country on every border on that map, and it just it challenged a lot of the assumptions that I had been told about him. He has, he has this extraordinary depth of knowledge about what's happening in each one of the agencies, my agency and the others, and and then he has an instinct for making good choices.
Well, I have to say that
I would say this. I think my uncle, John Kennedy, understood the uses of power.
What the hell? Another fucking 50 gifted subs by Emma Ann. Hasan, come to Hawaii, please. Gifted 20 gifted subs.
Better than any president who's preceded them. I think Donald Trump understands the use of power better than probably any president that we've had.
How does one get built in auto-tune? I think he got like Hep C in the throat from heroin or something. I don't know. I don't know exactly how he got that throat, but he is a throat goat. A moral direction like Euro kind of embracing someone who says Americans are 9/11 compares Zionists and neo-Nazis. A new moral direction is opposing the fuel embargo that's causing blackouts and hunger in Cuba. Saying the truth about the genocide in Gaza, not sending military weapons to kill civilians to Israel, opposing Iran war. Americans are deeply good and want us to be for human rights. All these capitalists gifting us socialist millions of subs. What the hell? Mao Zedong grandma. Mao Zedong would gift me 1 million subs. Anyway, is socialism or barbarism? BB getting exposed on X? What does that even mean, dude? Exposed as what? Is it genocider? Cutie McBooty gifted 69. Nice. Gifted subs.